Hello, YouTube, and welcome to Geekery Abides. This is episode number 36. So let's go ahead and get started. Very excited for a nice, fun topic. I don't know. I've been in a horror mood in the last couple weeks anyway, so
Yeah.
this is definitely this is vibing with me right now.
Well-timed,
So
well-timed.
I do appreciate it. So let's go ahead and hit the intro and get started on episode 36.
He who is ashamed of his geekery has forgotten the face of Stan Lee.
You the proud, the geeky.
This is the podcast, Geekery Abides.
Hello and welcome to Geekery Abides, episode number 36. My name is Tad, and in the co-pilot seat, as always, is Peter.
Hello there.
And we do indeed now have a hello there button. How the fuck we went 35 episodes and over a year without one is beyond me. Even when I was putting it on the board too, I was like, "This is familiar. How have we not done this?"
We deserve that too. Like full on. Like that's our bad.
Well, the good thing is we always had,
Do it.
and Palpatine is the best. So
That's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
so we're here for episode 36 talking about top 10 horror movies. But let's go ahead and jump on into emails. First of all, if you want to email the show, you can do that one of two ways, emailing either of us directly, either Peter at geekeryabides.com or Tad, T-A-D-D, at geekeryabides.com. That is your best way to do it. We produce these episodes every other, so like this is a Peter episode, for instance. I do the odds, he does the evens. So if you have like feedback on a show or ideas for a show, or you wanted to like spring something on someone, like you would obviously send it to the other person. Like there's all kinds of fun stuff like that, but that is the best way to reach out to the show. Outside of course, joining us live here over at YouTube is the best way to be interacting real time, which is always fun. So let's go ahead and jump on over to watching, reading, playing. I think I keep saying listening on accident. So
I mean that's reading. So
yeah, I guess it kind of.
Yeah.
When I would say watching, reading, listening, though, that's where it doesn't make sense.
that's where
So,
that's where you need to put the alcohol back, Ted.
indeed.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think so.
You go first this week.
Nothing wrong with drinking. So playing, I'm going to start at the bottom. I feel like I've been doing that because I'm watching a lot. So playing, I actually dove back into The Last of Us Part 1 on
okay.
PS5, as well as I've been playing Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Second one, right?
Yeah, which I have not played. I cannot keep those two straight. Which is which?
Fallen Order
Fallen Order.
and Survivor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because both of them could be the first one. It's like that Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and all that. Like a couple of those movies, you can flip flop the titles and it would make more sense than it.
Yes.
It's like that one where you've seen with Star Wars, where it's like all 9 movies are titled incorrectly, and it
Yes.
goes through and tells you
Yes.
why.
That one's fun.
Yeah, that is fun. So that's what I've been playing. I have finished out my MLB season, so I haven't been playing anything else. Just those two things, sadly. Reading, I finished up You Like It Darker, Stephen King's newest short story collection. And then I am now currently reading Ride the Devil's Herd, which is a story or a book on the true history of Wyatt Earp. So
Yeah. Cowboys.
Yes. Yes. Cowboys, the bad guys.
No, not the Cowboys, just Cowboys.
You know what I learned from that book too is the term cowboy had not applied to real people. Like, it was the gang's name, but like New England was the only area at that time that people called cowboys in terms of like a trade, a way of living. So it hadn't even spread out west yet. So like literally like it wasn't even like we watch it now and it's just like, oh, cowboys. Like, it's such a common term. It's weird you'd call your gang that, but it's like you couldn't call like Doc Holliday a cowboy. He'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm not associated with them.
Yeah.
Like,
Cowboy's also not even like a gunfighter like that. A cowboy
No.
is someone who's a rancher.
yes.
Like
yes,
cattle raiser.
Yes.
A cowboy.
Yeah, so it's been a fun read so far. I'm ultimately filling some time because my annual tradition of rereading The Stand
Is nigh upon us.
is coming up very quickly. I think this book will carry me over into my reread of The Stand. So I've been doing that for at least 10 years or so now. Yeah, so I can't wait for that. And then watching, there's been a lot.
All right.
So Star Wars Acolyte just started up a couple weeks ago. 3 episodes in now. I've been watching that, loving that. I threw up Tales from the Crypt on my streaming home streaming app. Watched a couple episodes of that, and that's a lot of fun. The Crypt Keeper was the one that told me bedtime stories as a kid, so that's fun to revisit.
Explains a lot.
The first episode had William Sadler from
really?
Frank Darabont fame. He's that old bastard tried to kill me from Shawshank, and he was in The Mist. He was the expiation primary believer.
Yeah.
So he was in the first episode, so that was kind of cool. He was a electric chair operator, and then they got rid of the death penalty, so he started to like rig basically booby traps to kill people that deserve to be executed.
Oh, jeez.
So that was pretty cool. And then I also started watching Battlestar Galactica again. You know, now that I'm through like the X-Men stuff, I had started streaming that show for the first time, so I'm watching that again. Also, there are a couple.
How is that?
It's good.
I've never seen it.
Yeah,
so
it's
that's what I'm
good.
asking.
I'm enjoying it. I grew up on the old Battlestar Galactica.
okay.
So it's just a cool story, though. You know, it's like the rise of the machines. They wipe out almost all of humanity, and all you got left is like 50,000 people in this space convoy, and that's
Oh,
all
wow.
that's all that remains of humanity.
Really, that's the story? Oh,
Yeah.
I've never heard
And
it summarized before.
there's like myths and rumors of like this mystical place called Earth where other humans live, but they don't know if it's even real. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, it's an interesting thing. I'm really loving it, and Katie Sackhoff is amazing.
Oh, okay.
So also I've thrown a couple episodes of Simpsons on.
All right.
Just randomly, like I need a half hour. Let's throw Simpsons on.
Okay.
Just watched. Oh God, which one was it? The Bart's Comet, which is where we get this from. That was like the next episode on my
That's
stream,
perfect.
so it worked out great. Also, Mayor of Kingstown on Paramount Plus just started back up. There's 3 episodes in, so I went and or 2 episodes in, so I went and watched that. That is of course, the return of Jeremy Renner. It's his main show. I really enjoy that show quite a bit. And then last night I did watch 2 of the 3 episodes of The Boys as well. So that is where I'm at on watching.
Nice.
A lot of shows, and then House of the Dragon's about to start up.
Yeah.
I'm inundated right now. with
Streaming
fucking shows to watch.
summers are pretty busy.
Yeah, so lot to watch.
Yeah.
What about you?
I am behind, unfortunately. I mean, we only had a little over a week since our last episode. Because we
I guess that's true,
Because
yeah.
we recorded Friday, so
Yeah.
I finished up my rewatch of Ghost with my wife, and then me and her watched Godzilla vs Kong. Kind of getting ready for like the new Godzilla to hit Max, which is coming, I think, at the end of this month. And then today we started watching. Yesterday we started watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. We're almost done with it.
Oh, so Godzilla, King Kong. Who's your preference?
Me?
Yeah,
Both.
got to be a fan of one of them more than the
I'm
other.
a fan of both.
Well, I'm not saying you don't hate the other, but there's got to be one you prefer.
Yes. Give me both.
No, they can't. Like,
Yeah.
you got to pick one.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
Why?
I'm a Godzilla guy. I like King Kong. I certainly do. But Godzilla, he's my boy.
I like. I do like. I like this Godzilla a little bit more than Kong.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I still love my monkey though.
So you got to get caught up on some stuff.
Yeah, I'm behind Acolyte, the
Star Wars.
Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, behind on those for sure. Wife had to pick up a shift today, so we didn't have our usual Saturday to watch something. Plus, we were busy yesterday, so
Yeah.
just lots of stuff. You know, it's a busy month. June always seems to be like a busy month for both of us,
Yeah.
so we always have stuff going on.
It's
So
certainly working out that way this month.
people need to stop dropping stuff in June. They need to drop it in like February. Like what the hell? Nothing goes on in February. Oh wait, my anniversary's in February. Shit.
I was gonna say nowadays there's some movies popping in February
Yeah,
every
there
so
is.
often. Although this year not really though.
Yeah.
Because last like 3 or 4 years, I mean, not counting COVID, I feel like we've had like a big fucking blockbuster type
Yeah.
movie in February quite regularly, except
Yeah.
for this year. It's kind of strange. We got screwed.
And then reading, I finished World War Z. I was rereading that, and I started the Swan Song, the one that you recommended. Post-apocalyptic, set in the 90s or late 80s, one of those two.
I think it was 80s.
Late 80s, like it's
Yeah.
before the Soviet Union falls, so late 80s.
Yeah.
Not very far into it, getting introduced to characters and everything. But I also got interrupted because I had to listen to Hardcore History. That podcast dropped its new episode.
Yeah.
So that, and then I've been listening to music more than anything this week.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Sprucing up some playlist, adding a few more songs. I think my current, like, everything playlist is at like over a day's worth now, closer to 2.
Yeah,
So.
that's definitely rough.
And then playing's the same as last week. Still playing Madden, GTA 5, and Infection Free Zone. Trying to get the hang of Infection Free Zone. I am super stoked, though. All 3 of those are going to go off my list starting next week. 7 Days to Die gets a massive update. It's going out of alpha. It's going to version 1.0 and officially getting its release. It's even getting a console update, so it'll be available for PS5 and Xbox. So I've been watching like developer stream summary videos to see like what's changed and stuff like that. And there is some overhauls for the game, so I'm like
There's some big games coming this year.
I'm
man.
super excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited. There's some games
Yeah.
this year. I'm looking forward to. Indeed.
Did I tell you that I watched that Indiana Jones video that you sent me?
Yeah, and I sent it because we're
Which
gonna
is-
we're gonna cover it
Okay.
In the news section.
Okay.
So that is one of them because that's coming out this year.
Yeah.
Like, how are we seeing a reveal video and it's coming out this year? Usually games
Dude,
are
games are doing that more and more, unless it's like Call of Duty. Well, even the Call of Duty one.
well, those
they're-
come out every year anyway.
Yeah,
so.
they come out every year, but the release video for Call of Duty 6 is coming out in November. Its release video was last week.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
it's becoming a norm for video games to do that
I'm
now.
not opposed to that.
No.
Rather than seeing a video 2.5 years before you're
Like,
ever going to see.
do you
the
remember
game.
Halo 3 where we watched those fucking videos for like a year and a half, 2 years
Yeah.
before we finally got our hands on it? And it's like, it's nothing like the videos.
Yeah, I think they should just like wait till they get up to like a 75% finished before they even think about doing any kind of marketing for it.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's just my belief. I'm tired of getting dragged along with video
Yeah.
games.
My wife put in the chat, watching Godzilla vs. Kong and Guardians of the Galaxy 3 as well. She watched Only Murders in the Building on Hulu.
Yeah, Momage watches that.
Yeah, and then reading Nothing. It takes a lot for her to read. And then still playing her Disney Dreamlight Valley game. She's addicted to that game. She won't stop.
Hey, nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing.
All right. Let me get the right slides here. Oh, yeah, there we go. So first off in the news, let's go on over to the news. The first one, we got some Wake Up Dead Man corner. There's actually a few things to cover. First of all, we've got our first look at Benoit Blanc as Ryan Johnson sent out a Instagram, I believe, saying that they are now shooting. That was day one of filming, and he sent out a picture. And generally speaking, I kind of roll my eyes at sometimes when they do these like first looks because it's a lot of times it's just like there's an actor wearing clothes, like
Yeah.
if it's Gary Oldman and Churchill, like there's something to see there. You know,
'Cause Gary Oldman looks nothing like Churchill.
yeah, or Colin Farrell as the Penguin. Like there's certain things fine, but so often it's just like, oh well, there's so and so wearing a T-shirt, and that's portraying a character. I mean, I guess it is,
Yeah.
but it's just like, what the fuck does it matter? This, on the other hand, that is a new look.
Yeah,
for
long hair.
Mr. Benoit Blanc. Quite regal. So we got that, as well as it is actively filming as we speak. Ryan tweeted the picture that on day one of filming was June 10th. So yeah, that's crazy. As well as we have some casting news.
Oh, okay.
They have added a little-known actor named Josh Brolin
Oh, who's that?
to the casting list.
I haven't heard of him before.
I think he was a Goonie or something.
Something like that. Oh, sorry.
I love Mr. Josh Brolin. Also, they added Thomas Hayden Church. You would know him from Tombstone. A lot of people would know him from the show Wings on TV. But in
Okay.
Tombstone, he was the "You're so drunk you couldn't hit anybody."
Oh, okay.
That's Thomas Hayden Church. Yeah, he. I think he's done something King too. But yeah, so him, because he plays the brothers with Steven Weber in Wings. They're brothers that run
Oh,
a
okay.
small airport. So I think he's the brother. No, he's not.
He's in Spider-Man 3?
He's not the brother. Yeah, he's Sandman actually.
Oh, that's where you should start off. If
I-
he's got an MCU connection, sir,
I-
come
I-
on.
I forgot about that till you said Spider-Man. That's true. I'm sorry, and he was not the brother. Never mind. In Wings, he was a different character. He was just this like dipshit
Oh, he
cab
was in
driver.
Twisted Metal, too.
Oh, I haven't watched that yet.
You still need to watch that. You played Twisted Metal when you were a kid,
Oh yeah,
right?
I did indeed. Also, we previously covered Jeremy Renner was in it. A question got brought up online.
Mm-hmm.
Is he going to be playing himself? You've seen Glass Onion. The second Knives Out. In Glass Onion, it was revealed that Jeremy Renner had a hot sauce line
Oh, it did.
in that universe. So now the question is coming up. Is Jeremy Renner playing a character, or is Jeremy Renner going to be Jeremy Renner?
Okay.
Because it will be very awkward if he's just playing a character when we've already seen a goddamn bottle of hot sauce in the last movie with his face on it. So
of Jeremy Renner's hot sauce.
yes, exactly. So
Okay.
that question has been brought up online. We'll have to see what happens, but very interested to see what Mr. Ryan Johnson has up his sleeve for Wake Up Dead Man. Let's move on over, though, to the next one. And this is Daniel Bruhl is confident, he says, that Baron Zemo will return to the MCU.
He's not dead.
Yeah, it's true. He says, quote, it's fine for me. I can't wait, or I can wait. And then he laughs. He says, I'm a very patient man. And he says, no, I'm not, but it's funny because in the meantime, I just wrapped on a show called The Franchise, where it's actually a satire about superhero universe, about the superhero universe. So it's fun to switch sides, so to say. But knowing Marvel, they have a lot of sense of humor, which is a weird way to word that. So they probably will find it funny as I did, but who knows? I mean, I'm still not dead. I'm very confident that I will be back. So,
All right, cast him. Like, give me the story you want him back in.
I mean, Thunderbolts
I got one.
asterisk
I got
is
one.
one where he could potentially show up.
I got one.
Yeah.
What if this new supervillain who's looking to start up a country somewhere is looking for a right-hand man, and he's got a big old steel mask and a green hood, comes busting in and saying, hey, I'm Dr. Doom. Come help me start a country.
Yeah, it could be.
Wouldn't that be a pretty good pairing, having those two? Because you got one who hates superheroes and another one who hates superheroes, and they want to go. And that's one of Dr. Doom's thing, right? Is he goes starts a sovereign country, and it's like, you can't fucking tell me
He
what to
doesn't.
do.
It exists.
He takes over a country.
Yeah,
Okay. What if Sokovia is that country for this universe?
Yeah.
What if he goes and gets, the Baron here and is like, hey, come.
It's got to be Latveria, though.
Latveria.
That's just like so iconic for him.
Yeah.
And it's got to be his country.
What if they take Sokovia and rename it?
He could also pop up in Cap 4. He feels like that would be another place he
It
could
fits.
potentially...
He was in. Oh, I forgot he was in Captain America and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Yep.
forgot that he was in that.
Yep. So that's yeah. We'll see. But I'm all for it. I think he was an incredible villain in Civil War. He did a great job in that show as well. But Civil War,
Was he-
I mean, I think he was kind of an MVP of that whole
Yeah.
phase. Like he was incredible.
Was he one of the first villains in the MCU that really was like, he's kind of got a point. Like not to the extreme that
was
he was
that
going.
before Black Panther? Because that's another one that
Yeah,
very
that's
much had a point.
Civil War introduced Black
that's
Panther.
true. So yeah, no.
So Black Panther comes after that, so we kind of get the swing of all of a sudden we get the villains where it's like, no, you were wrong. As Black Panther
of course,
said.
Thanos had a point.
No,
Thanos was right.
No.
Is that
no.
that graffiti in the men's room for Hawkeye was right. Thanos
No.
is right. All right. So next up, I'm actually not going to mark this one as a rumor. It may feel like it, but this is actually reported by Deadline that Sean Levy is in talks to direct the next Avengers film.
Oh, okay.
So of course he has directed 3 Deadpool movies now. He has been given the script that has been written by Michael Waldron to read, though he has not given an answer on if he will take the job or not. Marvel is going to continue talking to other directors while he considers it. And again, this is per Deadline, which is a very legitimate news website for or they're a news publication. I mean, they were dating back to like magazines and shit. So they're pretty legit. So I did not tag this as a rumor, even though it kind of feels like it because it's not solid yet. It hasn't he hasn't signed anything.
Wait, he directed the first 2 Deadpool?
Yeah, he's the director.
I thought it was a different director from 1 and 2.
I thought he did all 3.
No, they got a different director for 2. I thought.
I'm pretty sure. I thought he did all 3. But also he is currently very busy. He is committed to directing some of the final episodes of Stranger Things. He is on that cast of things, as well as apparently, I think I keep forgetting this, he is currently also developing a Star Wars film for Lucasfilm.
Yeah.
So
The first Deadpool was directed by Tim Miller.
I thought he did all 3.
No, yeah.
All right. Either it doesn't matter.
No,
But yeah, he's up for it. That's kind of we've heard of a number of names so far, but this is all the others have been rumors. This coming from a legitimate news site saying that he's been given the script to read kind of makes me wonder if he actually is a little bit more realistic than some of the others we've heard. So, speaking of Avengers, God, what would this be? Avengers 5. Because we don't know what to call
Avengers,
it. We don't know what to call it now
Avengers,
because
Age of Ultron.
because it's not Kang Dynasty anymore.
Right.
So we got to just start calling it. Everyone's been calling it the next Avengers, but it's like but this is actually from the same Deadline article, so I'm also not going to put this as a rumor. The reports in this article, and it is from sources, is that the next Avengers film is going to be featuring 60 MCU characters.
Secret Wars.
Well, no, that's the one after that. So
60?
it says
60?
the same Deadline article about Levy cited sources close to the production saying that the project is going to feature more than 60 MCU characters, mentioning specifically Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Benedict Cumberbatch, Tom Hiddleston, Simu Liu, and Karen Gillan are the names that were specifically mentioned. But it kind of sounds like this might be kind of an all hands on deck. It also mentions that they would all be on equal footing, making this more of an ensemble film rather than having kind of a lead or two that are kind of the focus of the movie, but it'd be more of like an ensemble Avengers, which actually makes sense. If you don't have Iron Man, you don't have Captain America in the same sense anymore. It kind of makes sense that like the Avengers now becomes this like bigger thing.
Are we going to finally see what Wong was building a force to protect us from?
Could be.
I mean, that's basically been kind of the thread through some of this is Wong has been running around doing sorcerer's things.
Yes, indeed. So I don't know what to expect. We still don't know a lot. There's been some speculation or questioning whether Comic-Con's coming up in the next number of months. Whether
next month. Isn't it usually in July?
Kevin Feige, there's rumors because he's going to be there for MCU. People are questioning. I wonder if they'll give us some clarity on what this next Avengers movie is. Is it still going to be Kang Dynasty, or are they just going to recast it? Nobody knows what the fuck's going on. Again, we actually reported on this show that the Kang Dynasty name got dropped, and now it's just being called Untitled Avengers film. So nobody knows, but this rumor of 60 MCU characters
insane.
Is nuts. Because that's like on par with like Endgame, like the portal scene. Like that's like almost everyone.
I don't think that there's 60 in that scene. Like it feels like we're still like pulling more if we're gonna pull 60.
Yeah,
I wonder if you went through and counted the Endgame heroes. How many?
Well, you also have like ones like Howard the Duck you see at a glance, and I think that's where you get into the realm of like you see a bunch of the Ravagers.
Does he count?
Yeah, because you see him. But here's the other thing I would say:
we're talking named characters, not just Ravager number 14.
Exactly. But the one thing I would question on this, it's where 60 can seem less unreasonable, is like
X-Men.
I just blanked on his name. Simu Liu, Shang-Chi, like his girl. Like if she's in it, like that would be a named MCU character. That could be part of the 60. So it's not like it's going to be 60 members of the Avengers, right? It could very well be kind of those ancillary characters that are supporting the larger thing. Like you're going to have these side characters.
What's his name from Ant-Man? That has the van.
Yeah, Luis. Luis. Yeah, characters like that. If you add all those in, 60 seems a little bit more reasonable. When I first read that, though, I'm like, 60 Avengers? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. well, that's what I thought you were meaning is like 60 superheroes.
Yeah, plus you could see other villains potentially. Like there's a lot that could go into this, but this kind of gives me some wonder about what this next movie is actually going to be.
Yeah, Comic-Con is from July 25th to 28th in San Diego this year. So, next month.
Yeah, so that's coming up quicker than D23. So, we'll have to see what Marvel unveils for that, because D23 is only every other year, but I think this is one of the years that's an on year, so I think we will get D23 this year, too.
August 9th through 11th, 2024 for D23.
Yeah, because it's every other year, because they didn't do it in 23. Yeah. So, all right, next up, we got Tom Hiddleston saying Christopher Reeve inspired Loki.
Oh.
He says, I remember thinking this is almost Shakespearean, this language. What's the best example I can look to of an actor who managed to humanize and make real this elevated world of myth? When talking about why Reeves' Superman inspired him, he said, he's masterful in that film. In a way, it's a similar premise. He's a god or a being from a different realm, and it's not naturalistic in the way that we might expect. And he says he does it so truthfully. It's so clear and clean and open and honest, his performance. I thought that if I could even approximate or get close to that kind of clarity that Christopher Reeve had in those films, I'd be lucky. So that's kind of cool to see, because it's not necessarily like what you would expect.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're playing a villain.
And you're using one of the most good, wholesome superheroes as an inspiration kind of thing.
Yeah. And not to tangent too much, but where do you think Loki ranks at this point in terms of like MCU character?
Oh, top tier.
Yeah, he's probably above some like people that have had their own movies, I would say. So, and I would say that a lot of what he's saying here, you know, kind of that humanity, that reality. There's a lot of stuff that he brought to Loki that I think is the only reason that Loki is what he is. I think
he the only superhero that's been in movies and a show with having a show named after him?
I mean, probably.
I mean, he didn't have a movie though. He was a sidekick in the movies. So.
Well, he was the main villain in Avengers.
He was the main villain.
Yeah, I don't know. I have to give a lot of credit to Hiddleston, though, because I do think that his performance is a large reason that Loki is what Loki is. Because I think if it was a lesser actor, I think you might see him show up for Thor and then Avengers, because that was always the plan, because Loki is the original thing in the original comic, too. He's the one that brings the Avengers together. But I wonder if that would have been the end of him if it were a lesser actor, and that would have just been kind of a couple movies and done. But he's held on and continued on.
Yeah.
Had a face turned to become a good guy, went bad again, came back. Like he's gone through a lot, and that's there's an elasticity to that character.
Yeah, he's done everything. When you look at the Loki character, he was a bad guy, he was a good guy, he was a sidekick. We're gonna get help. We're gonna do Get Help. No, we're not doing Get Help. You know.
Yeah.
He's been a sidekick. And then he was a main character and actually became a god.
Universal savior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
indeed.
saved the entire universe.
The multiverse.
The multiverse, yeah.
So, good on Hiddleston there. Next up, this one is in the rumor realm. Jordan Peele has allegedly met with Marvel about X-Men.
Okay.
Like, to me, I'm like, holy shit. Like, that's a pretty big, prestigious director. Not saying that Marvel is, like, hurting for filmmakers, but it's like, this dude's making, like, Oscar-level horror movies. That would suck as a horror fan to lose him as a horror director.
Yeah.
But then again, it kind of makes me wonder, too. Like, kind of it shows what they're going for. Because Ryan Coogler and now him. So you got, you know, really good, well-rounded black directors is the two main ones we've heard rumors for. So it kind of makes me think they're really going to lean into, like, the other nature of mutants.
Yeah.
For X-Men would be my guess. So, that's cool. We'll have to see what comes of that rumor.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've yet to hear anything I don't like when it comes to the X-Men. All the rumors we've heard, I'm like, sure, that would be great.
You're like, okay.
Yeah, there's never been one thing where I've been like, ugh. Like, nah, don't do that. Like, so I'm pretty excited for that. And now I'm reinvigorated with X-Men too because of 97.
Dude,
so
97 was so good.
I just sent you a reel about
I know, you fucker.
Oh, good old Gambit.
You're such a monster.
What? No, it's an epic moment, sir.
Epic moment, but you know what it does to me.
Yeah, it makes you pump your fist like, hey, just fucking own that thing. The reason they didn't kill, you know, like 14 million, whatever it was in the comics, is because of Gambit. Like,
That's right.
That's
Because Gambit's a badass motherfucker, and you need to put some respect on his name.
What's his name again?
You'll remember my name.
Oh, man. Next up, this is what the hell, man? Blade has lost its director.
Again?
No, they've been cycling writers and shit.
Oh,
but
writers, okay.
The director's been pretty consistent. But the main takeaway that I kind of got from this, though, is it does sound like the word that's probably being leaked from outside of Marvel's camp is Marvel is more interested in getting this film right versus getting it done quickly.
Good.
So I just hope they don't lose Mahershala Ali.
I know. He's so good.
He's really good. I'd be really suck if they ended up losing him through all this nonsense. But, yeah, we'll see.
I like Blade. It's one of my first intros into, like, comic book movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Blade before I even met you. And having the vampires
it was the first Marvel movie.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Of the modern era?
No, I was thinking about that recently. I was like, because you cycle through it, like you don't get X-Men until 2000, you don't get Spider-Man until 2002. Like Blade was 98.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first. I mean, true Marvel movie. I mean, there were some made-for-TV things.
That's
here
what
and
I
there
was
or
gonna
whatever,
say,
but it's
like-
but true Hollywood movie. I mean, I think it was in the late '70s that Stan Lee really stepped outside of the publishing side and being the editor. And his big role was I needed to figure out a way to get Marvel on the silver screen.
Yeah.
And it took him almost 20 years to get that from like 78, 79 to finally 1998. And I was thinking about it. I was like, so weird because Blade's not really one that you would like.
If you were gonna put your finger on it, it's Spider-Man.
Yeah,
right?
Spider-Man. I mean,
Wolverine.
Fantastic Four. There's a number of things, and there was a bunch that came through right shortly after, within like 5 years of that. But it's just crazy that Blade was the first one to cross the finish line. So yeah, you're saying you saw it like back in the day, and it's just crazy to me because I think I sent something, or I was meant to send him. I don't know if I did, but there was like a letter to the editor thing from Marvel, and they asked about updates on the movies.
Yeah.
We get a lot of questions about this, so here's all the updates. And it was just like some of the movies.
Yeah.
And Blade being on there, kind of, and I started looking, and I was like, is that the first one? And I went and did the research. I'm like, yeah, that
It is.
that was the
Yeah.
first Marvel movie to get to the screen.
It's also one of the first ones that really introduced my love of. I still haven't come up with a word for this, and I've talked about this on Dark Tower Palaver, our other show. Is that I love when they take like a myth and they add a reason to it that's real world, like Achilles in Troy, the movie Troy. He gets shot by like 8 arrows, but the one that's still in him, because he pulls all the others out, is the one that's in his heel.
yeah.
And it's like, oh, Achilles' heel. That's what brought him down. You know, like kind of like real world explaining it, but that's not really what it is.
Yeah.
Like vampires in this are different in a good way, where it's like, oh, that's where they get that from.
They're not
It's
sparkly?
not, yeah. But even like as silly as that was, even that I enjoy, because it's like, oh, that's why they don't go out on the daylight, because you're going to recognize that they're not human.
Yeah.
So I've always liked that, where they take that and it's like, oh, that's clever. I get why you did that. I don't have a word for that.
There's a terrible movie, but I think it was Dracula 2000. But in that one, the whole premise was that Judas Iscariot became a vampire, and he was the proto vampire, and everything from that was like, that was the curse of like betraying Jesus.
He was everything was like a descendant,
And then every vampire from
traced
there
back.
is traced back to that being like he was the big
I
bang
love
of
see
vampires.
like that. I love that. I love
the movie,
that.
on the other hand, was
No,
not.
see, yeah.
It was
Same with like Twilight. There's some issues I have with Twilight, but like the sparkling, like it's silly, kind of like okay, that's not
I
necessarily
to
like
me, the
coolest.
couple 100-year vampire hitting on a high school girl is way more troubling. That's just me. It's like what's the BD or like bind and whatever torture.
BTK.
No, not bind. I guess not bind torture. The S&M book that girls are all into.
Oh, 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, like, okay, this dude's rich, but if you were a guy living in a trailer park, let's
That book hits different.
let's ask if that is received the same way as when he's this fucking luxurious millionaire or billionaire.
Still, one of the greatest things ever for me that happened was when I went into a random Walmart here in Utah, which is heavy Mormon, and they had Mormon bestsellers, and it had 50 Shades of Grey on it, the movie. And I was like, oh.
Oh, that's brutal. Next up, we got The Boys, showrunner talking about the show's end. And this is kind of a two-parter here. The first part, he says it's from the showrunner, and he says, I have learned since then not to try to call the seasons as the person who, and this is without hyperbole, is literally the most wrong person in entertainment history of how many seasons their show will go. Because if anyone doesn't know, he was behind Supernatural and said that was supposed to be 5 seasons.
Eric Kripke. Yep, this is Eric Kripke.
And then he says, so I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. Guinness Book of World Records, who is the dumbest on how long their show will go? There would literally be a picture of me. And then so that all happened. But then a few days later, he ended up tweeting and said, season 5 will be the final season of The Boys. He says, always my plan. I just had to be cagey till I got the final okay from Vought.
Wait. I see what you did there, Eric.
Yeah, and he says, thrilled to be bringing the story to a gory, epic, moist climax. That's a fun phrasing.
God damn it, dude.
And he says, watch season 4 in 2 days because the end has begun. So it sounds like those earlier quotes are more of just like, I think he kind of knew that was the end. But I kind of wonder if Amazon was like, we're not letting you end it. So, and he had to like get commitment from them that, yes, you're okay to say that like, we'll let it end at 5.
Well, also the other thing also maybe that plays a part in that is that, I mean, season 4 is about to drop, but have we got a green light for season 5?
Yes.
So that's
It was a few days before.
see, that's what I'm wondering if
Yeah.
maybe that because that lines up perfectly with his tweets. Is like, wait, can I say that season 5 is even a thing yet? So maybe that was part of it too.
No, that wasn't a big deal. I think everyone just assumes that because the show's so
Yeah,
big.
but you can't confirm it unless you get the okay from the studio, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of times they will just cage it because they don't want to like count eggs before they hatch. But
That's what I'm saying. That's what Eric's doing.
No, he's earlier. He's just saying that like I'm not going to guess on the end of the show because I've been wrong on this.
No,
before.
I understand that, Tad. What I'm saying is that also he's saying that next season's going to be the last season. Well, that's confirming that the next season has happened.
No,
before
that was confirmed before. Or that
You
was
just said it happened a couple days before the show aired.
No. Before all this happened, it was like maybe even a week before.
Oh,
that
okay.
5 was confirmed because it was like, oh, we're coming up hot on 4 is coming out, in the next couple weeks, and Amazon just confirmed season 5.
Oh, okay.
And then all these came out where he's like talking and he's like, I'm not going to guess. And then a few days later, suddenly he's tweeting saying it's the end. And then he says like had to wait for Vought to give the okay. So I'm kind of just wondering if there was some negotiations on like, maybe we can get you to go longer.
Yeah.
and it finally got it settled where like, no. It's in fucking on black and white now. And like,
He
we're,
learned his lesson from Supernatural.
yeah, and he's saying we're done. So yes, that is kind of the news ultimately is it will end with 5. Yeah, I don't know. Season 4 we'll have to see. Obviously some stuff from the end of the last season kind of makes you wonder if it was kind of getting closer to the end, right? Because like they were using that stuff that they end up finding out is going to kill them.
Yeah.
And obviously the main character used a lot of it, so it's like I remember the end of that season where I'm like, are they like winding this show down? Because like that just felt all of season 3. I mean, it was the tail end when what's her name found out that like this is fatal. The shit's fatal to you people.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's different when they do it with babies because like babies can adapt or whatever. But when adults start taking it, it's like, yeah, you're gonna die.
Well, it's a different compound. Compound V is what turns you into a superhero permanently. Temp V is what Butcher and them have been taking.
Yeah,
it's two different. The only reason I know that is that we were talking about this yesterday. Is I watched a recap video because I'm not watching Gen V.
Yeah.
I've made the choice that I'm not probably gonna watch it, so I just watched a recap of the first 3 seasons of The Boys and season 1 of Gen V.
Yeah.
And they talk about the difference between Compound V and Temp V is what it's called.
Yeah.
They're also different colors just so you can differentiate them.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It just made me wonder even in season 3 that I was just like, are they winding this down now? Because like once you get like a realm where like, hey, he's obviously used too much. Obviously, also from the storytelling perspective, he was made aware that it can be fatal and then
he
used it again.
Still took it.
And that's like one of those things where it's like when a character's aware, I know that's not how it works in real life.
Yes.
But when a character's aware of it in the story and then they still take it again, that's like them doubling down and you just know the character's like going to have repercussions.
Yep.
So I remember thinking that, what was that, 2 years ago when that season came out?
Yeah.
So none of this is necessarily surprising. It also kind of ups the ante a little bit because I thought about that as I was like getting ready to start the show before I even started watching season 4. It's like, to me, there's more drama now because now suddenly characters can die. Now that we know the end is in sight, like it's kind of like Game of Thrones or whatever, right? Suddenly certain characters started to die as we got closer to the end.
Yeah,
'cause it
you
was
had like plot armor for a few characters. I mean, maybe not everyone in Game of Thrones, but there was a couple in Game of Thrones. You're like, okay,
yeah,
A, B, and C cannot die.
Yeah.
Because the whole plot revolves around them.
yes,
If they die, the show ends.
yeah.
So we know that's, but when we hear, okay, it's the last season of Game of Thrones, it's like, okay, take that plot armor off. We know anything can happen in this show.
So I remember thinking that yesterday, like I was getting ready, I made myself a drink, I was getting ready to start. I was like, you know what? Knowing now that like 5 is the end, like we've only got, 20 episodes or whatever left. I'm like, shit can get real here now. Like there's suddenly no longer armor for like, mother's milk or, some of these people. Like it's just not. So, I almost like that because it's more drama and I like that. Next up, we've got rumors on Sam Mendes's Beatles movies. He's doing the 4 Beatles movies. According to a source, the 4 Beatles have been cast for the upcoming quartet of films covering, one of the greatest bands to ever exist. The first one, Harris Dickinson, is allegedly going to be playing John Lennon. He played David Von Erich in The Iron Claw. He was also in The King's Man, which I still haven't fucking watched.
Oh, I haven't either.
That prequel, World War I prequel of The Kingsman. It's on streaming. So
which one?
Hulu, I think. Because it was a Fox movie. So Hulu. But it came out in 2020. So it was like no theatrical. It ended up getting dropped on like Hulu or whatever. And I just never got around to it. I wanted to watch it though. It has like Rasputin and stuff in it.
Yeah.
Paul Mescal is allegedly playing Paul McCartney. He is one of the actors in the upcoming Gladiator 2. Of course, everyone knows right now Barry Keoghan is allegedly playing Ringo Starr. He was in Masters of the Air, Saltburn, and Eternals. He's obviously everywhere right now. He seems to be like one of the hottest actors on the scene at the moment.
Yeah.
And then Charlie Rowe is allegedly going to be playing George Harrison. He was in the Slow Horses, the Gary Oldman show, as well as Rocket Man. So we'll have to see. This is all rumor right now. I'm sure at some point Sony is going to do some official announcements, but yeah, kind of interesting. Those are certainly ideal roles for people. I mean, the musical biopics have been pretty good for a lot of actors. So
Been going strong for like 20 years with that. Ever since we're like
well, Walk the Line happened,
started.
and then Ray happened right after, and then there was like a dead zone of like almost 10 years where not a lot was coming out.
Well, I mean, we even
then they
before,
just blew
even,
up.
Even before that, we had Selena.
Yeah,
With Jennifer Lopez is who played her.
was it? And then there was
Is
also
it Jennifer? No,
there
it's
was
not Jennifer Lopez.
There was the Buddy Holly movie with Gary Busey. I mean, no, musical biopics have been around for a long time, but I remember like there was the Johnny Cash movie, then there was the Ray movie.
Yeah,
with,
it is Lopez. Yeah.
and then after that, it just felt like they died off, and then suddenly now they're just like, you can't fucking swing a goddamn cat without hitting at least 3 of them. So yeah, it'll be interesting to
Fuck,
see.
it's Elvis.
Yeah, indeed. Another one that was very good for the actor. Next up, American Gladiator is getting another reboot.
Again?
And with Amazon Prime this time. I mean, this is just aiming right at nostalgia, right?
Yeah.
And the first one, I feel, was coming at a time when like it was right about the time that a lot of people were moving to like streaming stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
So I feel like I was kind of just doomed to not succeed.
Yeah.
This though, on a streaming service, like
I
might
been,
watch it, dude.
There's
I-
been shows, competitions like this that have been done on streaming that have done very well.
Yeah.
There's one on Netflix called The Ultimate Beastmaster. The Rock, I think, is the one that produced it.
Yeah.
It's on like its 5th or 6th season. My daughter loves it.
Did you watch American Gladiator back in the day?
Oh yeah. Dude, what's better than watching roided out dudes wreck average Joes?
Dude, and those like balls that
Oh, yeah.
they got in like the hamster balls.
No, the absolute best thing ever from American Gladiator is the gauntlet where you had to try and hit them while they were shooting at you. I don't know why, but that was the funnest fucking thing. I was like, that looks like so much fun.
There was The Simpsons at one point when Milhouse's parents get divorced and his mom starts dating an American Gladiator.
Yeah.
And he looks out and she's leaving and they get into the ball and roll away.
I want to see a kid's version of American Gladiator.
Yeah.
Watch the kids fuck each other up.
Yeah. I mean, what's the one that they did and then they dubbed it in Japan? Or it was Japanese and they dubbed it in English where they're like going through like the gauntlet type things. They always get like fucked up by
It's Wipeout.
Yeah, I want a wipeout thing for kids just to watch kids get pulverized.
Tad doesn't care about your kids. He can watch them fall down all day.
Oh, and with a big smile on my face. Next up, and this is not a rumor. This is actually what she said. But the Acolyte showrunner says that she wants to do a live-action Knights of the Old Republic.
Okay.
Personally, meh. I'm not into like stuff that I know is
Yeah.
going to happen. Like to me, like that's a great game. Like remaster the game, do it a ground-up remaster, great. I'll play it again. But doing a movie or a show on it, like I don't know.
I think remastering would be fine, but it's short.
It is.
If you go back and replay that
to modern.
game, to modern games and
Yeah.
everything like that,
And
the maps are
all
tiny.
yeah, exactly.
I would like.
they seemed
this
huge
is-
at the time.
This is one of those ones I would like a remake.
Just remake it all the way.
Start from the ground up. You can keep the story the same or change it a little bit if you want.
Yeah.
Isn't that what the initial announcement was for Knights of the Old Republic? Isn't there something new coming out for it?
Allegedly. Like,
Well, no,
there's-
didn't they do a
there's-
teaser trailer for it?
There's been like 2 or 3 different studios that have had their hand in it where they're like, we're working on it now. And then it always just peters out, and then another company's like, we're doing it now. I won't believe
until
anything.
until it's on your system loaded up.
Exactly.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind a movie. Like it'd be fine. Excuse me, Rogue Squadron needs to happen before that. Fuck off everything else.
But she says, quote, I've always wanted to explore a live-action version of Knights of the Old Republic, the game. And she says, Kriya's character in specific, she says, I think it would be really interesting story to bring to life, which, of course, that's the Knights of the Old Republic 2 character.
I was going to say, wait a minute, isn't that 2?
Well, that's the character that apparently she's interested in. So, yeah, we'll have to see what if anything comes of that. Next up, we got a rumor that Star Wars Total War game is coming.
Yeah.
So Total War is a franchise usually focused on historical military forces and cultures. So doing something in Star Wars would be very different for them. The Total Wars games combine turn-based strategy and resource management with real-time tactical control of battles. Rather uniquely for real-time strategy games, flanking maneuvers and formation factors factor heavily into the gameplay. So it'd be kind of a Command and Conquer Age of Empire type game for Star Wars, where they've done one like that before, like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was not bad, and it's like if they were to do it again, like I love real-time strategies, dude. I'm a sucker for them. They're fun. So.
Very StarCraft and old school Warcraft.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of in that in those realms for sure. Next up, Dave Filoni talks his film's opening scene and Ahsoka Season 2. He says, quote, because I've been writing Ahsoka Season 2, things have clicked and I have a much better idea about where things are going to go. And then about his film, he says, I will say I have an opening that I really like quite a bit. I'm very excited about it for that picture. I'm excited about the potential of just doing it. So not a lot there, but it's like, what do you got, Filoni?
Yeah, I'm watching you.
And he says, right now my focus is clearly on Ahsoka Season 2, as well as the rest of the galaxy and how it's spinning. Because, of course, he's now in that Uber role. He's kind of the Feige of Star Wars now.
Yeah.
So, I'm very intrigued. What kind of opening scene? The ultimate question is, can anything ever top Revenge of the Sith opening scene?
Oof.
Because that's the greatest opening in Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
You can talk about movies and whatever, but the opening, just that opening thing, I just don't think you beat Revenge of the Sith.
No.
Man.
The star fight, the battle over Coruscant into the rescue of Palpatine until another happy landing. That one.
That's fucking Obi-Wan Kenobi.
That whole from there to there, point A to point B. I don't think you have one that's even close.
I mean, you got the Tantive 4 is pretty great and iconic.
Yeah.
Empire opens with more of like the Imperial Search. It's not really that action-packed.
it's like just the one asteroid. It's the probe droid landing on Hoth, and then Luke gets taken by the Wampa. But it's kind of like that's the scene. Like that's where it stops, and then Han goes back to base, and you get everything.
And like if you let it expand enough, I would argue Return of the Jedi would probably be my next one. It might even compete.
Jabba the Hutt.
Jabba the Hutt stuff's pretty great, but that's like almost like a 25 minutes of the movie.
So's Revenge of the Sith. How long is that?
That's true.
How long is it until another happy landing?
It's probably a ways
How
in.
How far?
I don't know.
I'm gonna pull it up on Disney Plus right now. I want your guess.
I don't know. So next up, we got Filoni talking future projects. So this is more in the Feige role. He says, the bottom line is, whatever we do, it has to be really well done. When you look at something that's taken as different, like Andor, it's so well done, and Tony Gilroy and his team do such a phenomenal job that I think there's an audience for that. He says, I think also that that audience... I also, though, want to still be hitting the imagination of kids out there so they can grow up and appreciate those things. It's almost like your taste for food. Your taste for cinema and visuals change as you get older. He says, my dad had me watch Seven Samurai when I was a kid because he knew I liked Star Wars and he knew that George worked with Kurosawa. He says, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I understood any of it when I was little, but as you get older, you're like, oh my gosh, that's right. And then it hits you in the face. You appreciate it in a different way. He says, and I think that Star Wars encompasses all types of styles and creativity of the particular story, driving it to, and it's kind of the most important thing. And they should do something that is within our comfort zone. So, kind of just some overall platitude type things, but it's just kind of interesting to hear, kind of his view as the man behind the stick, as it were. All right, next up, kind of not necessarily Star Wars anymore, but it's kind of in the same realm. The Indiana Jones game. They just announced an Indiana Jones game. Microsoft had their big to-do where they're announcing kind of their next big wave of games. One of those was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Mm-hmm. And the most shocking thing is with this announcement, there was this video, 5 minutes. Some of it was cinematic, but some of it was gameplay.
Majority of it was cinematic.
But then it said 2024. And I was like,
wait, what?
Is that 2028 typed wrong? Like, what? But... yeah, so allegedly that's coming out this year, dude, and it looks fun. I will say Indy's had a hard time in the past on games, and I've always said Indie has a hard time with games, and then Tomb Raider has always had a hard time with movies. And I think it's because they're basically the same thing. Tomb Raider was just like, let's just take Indiana Jones and make it a game. And of course they change it to a female character, but it's like they're kind of the same thing. And I think with indie, it's the same thing where it's like once you transition indie to video games, it's like, well, now you're just playing Tomb Raider.
Right.
So it's always kind of been, but the gameplay that they were showing there, it looks fun. And we talked about it last episode. It had the right sound effects, the punch sounds and stuff. Like I would want it to be kind of like a hack and slash type game, but I also think like have it be problem solving.
The puzzles
and stuff.
Game.
Yeah. So I don't know though. What did you think watching it?
I thought it looked great. There was a very large chunk of that was a cinematic scene. So we only got flashes of the actual gameplay.
Yeah.
No HUD overlay is one thing I noticed. There's no buttons in the corner, health meter, or anything like that.
They may have turned that off.
Which makes me wonder if it is actual, like an actual game and everything like that.
Yeah. You know what the health bar should be? A whip. And it just rolls up as you die.
But my wife says in the chat, if it's a puzzle game, I'd be down. There was several parts of the and I don't know if you've ever played them, like the puzzle games where it's like you get a box and you have to figure out how to open it.
Yeah,
those kind of games.
There is those kind of games, but I'd also say like a big one that's old school, Resident Evil.
Yeah.
The old school Resident Evils, there was a lot of fucking puzzles that you had to figure out.
You got to figure out how to pull a lever.
To open up the next room and stuff. And I think that's kind of what indie should be, is like you should have to be able to use your mind, not just like punching Nazis and like whipping over things to like swing across. But
that's very Lara Croft Tomb Raider.
But there should also be areas where it's like, hey, you're going to die in this room if you can't figure out how to like open the door.
There was what I was saying about those puzzle games. There's very much like you turn the cube and you select a side and it like highlights it and brings it up. There was a certain couple scenes in the trailer that I saw where Indy like focuses on a table and there's like jars on the table and it's like, oh, maybe I have to rearrange these in a certain pattern to unlock the next room. And it gave me very much a puzzle.
Yeah.
My wife plays these games. That's why I know them.
Yeah.
Very much a puzzle type kind of game and everything. But then there was also just straight up action shots where he's punching a fucking Nazi in the face.
Yeah. Which I love it. I love this.
Is there anything better?
I mean, no, it's great.
Shooting a Nazi or punching a Nazi, which is better?
Did we see any guns in that? Like, there was guns seen, but like, did you ever see Indy pull out the revolver? And like,
Indy didn't pull out a revolver.
I saw him like punch people. I saw him whip people.
Yeah.
I saw like
he whipped someone who was holding a machine gun, a German submachine gun. So but did Indy have his gun? I never saw it.
I didn't see him pull it out.
No.
So I'm glad you realized that as well, because I was like, I'm sure you'll have a gun. Not that it would be like the most prominent thing, but I do think you'll probably have a gun, right? Because he has a gun.
Not one with infinite ammo. It's not going to be a shooter.
No. What was that zombie game where you're a photographer and like you could get a gun, but it like played really shitty with, because it wasn't a shooter game.
It's the one at the mall, right?
Yeah, it's one where you're a photographer, you're going in, whatever. You do get a gun, but it's so hard to use that it's almost worthless. It's because it's like, and I always respected that game because it was like, yeah, it makes sense. This isn't a shooter game. I'm not here to shoot a bunch of zombies. I'm here to
Dead Rising.
Yeah, Dead Rising. I'm here to take pictures and then send it back.
Yeah,
to my
you're documenting the zombie outbreak.
Yeah.
You have like a time frame.
Yeah.
Where you can. The only time I ever played that game, I failed because there's a certain point in the missions where if you're not to the certain point by this point, and then the entire the next 10 hours you play doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah, it has like a hard timer.
Yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah,
it's just like that always no.
Yeah. I never played more than the first one. I don't even think I finished the entire first game, but
yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was. But I remember at one point having like a 8-shot pistol, and I think I went through like 3 mags to kill one zombie, and it was because it did not control, aim, nothing well. So it was just like, but it made sense. It's like you're not a freaking Green Beret, you're a photographer, and this isn't meant to be a shooting game.
Exactly.
So, next up, we do have a rumor that you might be interested in. The rumor is the Batman 2 and 3 are going to be shooting back to back.
Nice.
So that would be a big thing, because that might mean that, yes, you have to wait till 2026, but what if 2027 was part 3?
I'm down.
It's a rumor right now, but it does give some hope to some Batman fans that are hoping that maybe there won't be a 3-4 year gap between 2 and 3. We'll have to see what happens there. Next up, we've got The Last Ronin, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' Last Ronin writer, says that he wants the original April O'Neil actor.
Yeah.
This would be great.
Let's go for it!
Or...
Just took it to my veins!
Because, dude, if she showed up, That would fucking.
Oh, yeah.
I would geek out so hard.
If they made it look like those turtles and we're just continuing the story and it's the story of The Last Ronin, which I haven't read and I'm not going to read until after I see the movie because I don't want it spoiled. I'm sure they're going to do something
Well, there's
different.
a game coming too, right?
Oh, they canceled it.
Oh.
I asked about that a couple episodes ago. You're the one that told me that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a prediction though. Do you?
Oh, I know. I fully expect I know which one it's going to be.
What do you think?
I think it's Raph.
I think it's Michelangelo.
Nah.
Because here's my reasoning. Raphael makes the most sense. Michelangelo makes the least sense. He's the least serious, like whatever.
Yep.
So it just if I'm a storyteller, it would make the most sense that he was the last one because everyone would be like, "What the fuck?" Like he's literally the last one I would guess would make it. So
Also,
it
like
just feels,
he's the one that least would make it.
and become like the badass
Yeah.
that's like killing people and shit. Like everything about it feels like so opposite. Like it feels like it should be Raphael.
Yes.
And like my first thought was that, but then more I thought about it, you know me and my like sixth sense of storytelling.
Yeah.
I was like, it's gonna be fucking Mikey because it just doesn't make as much sense. So that's the perfect reason to do it. So that's my prediction. I've not read it. I was gonna wait for the game.
Yeah.
Now I'm waiting for a movie. I don't care.
I still want the game.
And R-rated, dude.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
dude. And then here's his quote. He says, "My dream is for the lovely and talented Judith Hogue to be part of something that we do for The Last Ronin. For much of the Ninja Turtles audience, Judith Hogue's portrayal of April has a formative impact on their attachment to the series. Talk about what a cowabunga moment that would be for TMNT fans. Am I right?" Abso-fucking-lutely, dude. Because like, yeah, that is. I mean, I grew up on the cartoons.
Yeah.
But those movies and her, she's just she's the face, right? Because like
Yeah.
the turtles are just turtles, so it's like she was the human face that kind of humanized the
yeah,
whole thing.
her and Casey Jones.
And I have the hots for her too when I was a kid.
Did you?
I just even as a cartoon, but then when
Yeah.
it was real live action, I was like,
Cartoon, yes. Live action, no for me.
really?
Interesting,
I always
I've never
dug
had
it.
a thing for curly hair, like
Oh.
the frizzy curly hair.
You're a claustrophobic. Hey, you take that back. I've never looked at a man before. It's one of my favorite lines in that movie. Oh, dude. One of these days we have to talk turtles. That's,
Oh, yeah.
That'll have to be
We
a topic.
guts to talk about the turtles.
Yes, indeed. Next up, Alien Romulus director offers some story details and then some comparisons.
Yeah. Oh, shit, I need to get on the Alien train. I need to start watching some of those.
So Fide Alvarez, when he was asked if the movie is going to be more like Alien or Aliens, because that's the ultimate question, right?
Horror film or action
Yeah,
film?
there's other Alien movies that exist, but really there's only two.
Yeah.
Everything else lives in the shadow of those two movies.
Yes, and every single other Alien movie fits into one of those categories.
Yeah. Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference?
Yeah. There's an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where they're
I've
trying
only
to,
seen it once.
they're
so.
trying to decide which apartment to move into, Amy's or Jake's, and so they have a competition trying to catch the fugitives. And they go down into the sewer, and Terry's like, "Man, he couldn't stop talking about the turtles." And Amy's like, "He's guts to talk about the turtles, Terry."
I mean, who doesn't? It's,
Right?
it's really that is my ultimate first fandom.
It's
when
turtles.
I was a
Yeah,
wee lad, watching
same.
those cartoons, got the toys, all that stuff, man.
I had so many turtle toys.
Did you see they were remaking those ones that transform from real turtles to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
Dude, I had those.
It's the original molds.
No,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah, they are. I think they're actually out and ready to purchase. But yeah, they are 100% same mold, same paint jobs, everything, dude. I saw them. I was like, oh my
Because
god.
they turned into the little turtles.
Into the little turtles, yeah. But here's Fide Alvarez's quote. He says, "To ask an Alien fan to choose between them is a perverse question," which I totally agree. Alien versus Aliens. He says, "So I thought, how do I do both?" So that's kind of his non-answer answer. Is he says it's not good to ask between those two. So he's like, my movie, I'm trying to do both. He says there's a moment where the characters are walking around the area familiar from the Nostromo, and then they cross through that building on the other side. Boom, you're in the hallway that looks like Halley's Hope from Aliens. So it sounds like there's even going to be some full-on recognizable. He says when her Kaylee Spawney's character, which Kaylee was also just cast in Brian Johnson's third Knives Out, so
Okay.
I wonder if she's kind of about to become a hot up-and-comer. When her father was dying, he left Andy to be kind of a caretaker, but Andy is a bit damaged and he's an older model, so that's more and so more than a surrogate father, he becomes like a younger brother to her. So it's a
Okay.
girl and her android, and we know in this universe that's not necessarily the most trustworthy thing. Well, in what universe is a freaking cyborg trustworthy? And he's
Terminator?
I still don't trust him. God knows, man. Wouldn't that be the ultimate thing for Skynet? Send him like, hey, you're going to be this kid's protector, but then on this one day, Just gonna fucking flip, and then you're gonna turn
He's
and gun him down.
he's the Manchurian candidate.
Seriously, wouldn't that be the ultimate Skynet move?
Yeah.
Which they played that in one of the.
If someone says the word grapefruit, you kill John Connor.
So and then he says that was always the heart of the story, this relationship between the two, and how that relationship unfolds once shit hits the fan. And then Alien Romulus follows a group of young people on a distant world who find themselves in a confrontation with the most terrifying life form in the universe. The story is set between Ridley Scott's Alien and James Cameron's Aliens, and the same team that worked on Aliens returned to work on this movie, special effects wise. They dug up some special effects wizards that did Aliens back in '86 that are working on this film.
Nice.
So yeah, pretty cool. Next up, also Alien related. This is a rumor, but the Alien TV show that Noah Hawley is working on, allegedly we're hearing a working title, and it is being referred to as Alien Neverland, but that may not be the final title. It is also said the story is to be set 3 decades before the events of Ridley Scott's classic Alien and a few years before Prometheus. The series will find the characters caught in a conflict with the beginning of artificial intelligence and the competition among developers and users. Like, I kind of get that works in the universe, but I don't know if I'm as interested in that. Like, so you wouldn't be talking about Aliens, you'd be talking about kind of Wayland Yutani's early days and how AI, which would be cool. It kind of would reflect on our society right now.
Yeah,
But-
a little bit of world building, but the question, it always comes back to something that I heard years ago, is when you make a sequel or a prequel and you go into world building, are you going to leave the world better, or are you going to leave it worse because now you answered questions, and are you going to piss people off?
Yeah.
Because that was when this conversation happened was after John Wick. Did John Wick need a sequel? Did it need a sequel? Are you going to world build? Are you going to world build the correct way and everything like that?
I think I asked you that question.
I think they did a great job.
Yes, they did.
They did.
But I think I ultimately asked you that. I think originally when they announced 2, I was like, is it really worth doing another one?
Yeah, exactly. And that's where I think that if you're going to do another one, you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Are you going to go explore John Wick's wife and her life? No, we don't give a fuck about that. We care about John Wick.
Or a backstory on the dog.
We got the backstory on the dog. That's the first 5 minutes of the movie. Go watch it.
Get a 2-hour movie of the puppy, like the dog, the dog's conceiving, and then you get the puppy born. He's in like the box, and the end of the movie's the wife picking it up.
God. Dude, I'm pretty sure we already have that movie. It's called Marley and Me. The dog dies.
Dogs always die in movies, sir.
It's not good. People are sick of it. I've been seeing so many posts online where it's like, if a dog dies in your movie, I'm not watching it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh God, like flat out. But no, I wonder if this is the right direction. Like,
yeah.
I mean, Terminator Salvation was a poorly made movie, but also, was it one that we actually needed or wanted? Hindsight's 20/20, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, if you're going to make a Terminator movie, like at that moment in history, isn't there something better that we can a different story in this universe that we can tell?
Yeah.
I'm wondering the same thing with Aliens here. Like, is this really the story that we want to tell?
Yeah.
You know what a better story I would feel for Aliens is? Okay, what if one does get to Earth? Show me that.
Apparently, that's what David Fincher wanted for Alien 3, and they told him absolutely not.
I mean,
you can't have
that's like the quintessential question is what actually happens.
Here's
right?
my problem. 1, I don't know if you ever stop it. 2, it just becomes the thing, though. Ultimately, right? You can't let it get off the. Well, right, yeah. I like the idea, but I almost think that once it gets to Earth, that it's game over. I just don't know that you can stop them. So
if it's a xenomorph, you could.
Maybe.
If it's a queen, you couldn't.
Yes, exactly. So next up in the who the fuck asked for this? Apparently they're developing a Hostel series with Paul Giamatti starring.
Hostel.
Like Eli
horror
Roth
films?
Yeah.
Why?
Not only a series, but you got like Academy Award winning Paul Giamatti.
What are we doing? Live leaks on a show?
I don't know, man. I was never a fan of Hostel. It had a couple cool gore scenes in the first movie, but I've never watched a single sequel.
The premise of it and everything like that, yeah.
It just, I feel like what I've always said about Hostel is I feel like Hostel looked at Saw, took all the wrong lessons from it, and it's like Saw was about storytelling, great acting, whatever, and they were just like, oh, well, people like the grotesque torture shit, so let's just go ham with that, and it's just nah.
The one movie was like, and obviously there's one scene, obviously, that really awoke something in you with it. But from there, can you tell me the premise of the movie, the first Hostel?
It wasn't it just like basically rich people that were paying to like torture and kill
Yeah.
like tourists essentially.
So what's your premise for a show?
So here's my thing. If you ever want to do a Hostel follow-up, I know they did a couple sequels, but let's not talk about those. If you ever wanted to do it, let's do a crossover. Hostel and Taken. That's always been my pitch. If you want to,
I'm interested.
because imagine all
Because
that
all
going
those
on.
fuckers that are torturing people getting gunned down by Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
Where's my daughter?
Yeah. Indeed. Next up, we got Neve Campbell talking about her return to Scream. Some
Hell
of this,
yeah.
some of this is repeats of what we've heard in previous things, but this is a new convention. She says those movies have been such a big part of my life, and it means so much to me. And I was sad to miss the last one, and to not to be part of it. She says I was really grateful that they came back to me in a respectful way. I think that means a lot to women and to society. I'm grateful to be able to step into Sydney's shoes again and tell her story. So,
Yeah.
as I said before, they just backed a couple of Brinks trucks up to her house after they fucked up everything with the young cast. And good, because she
Sign
did-
here on the dotted line for us to drop off all those oodles of money.
Yeah, because she deserves every penny, man. It is her fucking series. It's her
Goddamn
franchise.
right it
Like,
is.
she is Bruce Willis to Die Hard for
Yeah.
Scream. So next up, we got The Last of Us showrunner saying they're going to need 3 more seasons to tell the full story.
Nice.
He says the story material that we got from part 2 of the game is way more than the story material than was in the first game. So part of what we're going to do from the start was to figure out how to tell that story across seasons. Craig Mazin said. He says when you do that, you look for natural breakpoints, and we laid this out. This season, the natural breakpoint felt like it came after 7 episodes. So sadly, we're losing 2 episodes from what we had from season 1. There's only 7
Okay.
episodes. And originally they were supposed to actually have 10 episodes in season 1, but there was a couple long episodes, so they ended up trimming it down to 9. The Bill and Frank episode was particularly long, and then I believe that the opening episode was like 90 minutes too of
Jeez.
Last of Us. It was long because remember, if they would have ended it with a normal episode, it was like right as you went to the modern day after all the shit with him and his backstory. So it would have been a weird break point for all of it. So it made sense, but yeah. So 7 episodes. He says we don't think that we're going to be able to tell the story even with 2 seasons because we're taking our time and going down interesting pathways, which we did a little bit in season 1 too. We feel like it's almost assuredly going to be the case that as long as people keep watching and we can keep making more television, season 3 will be significantly larger, and indeed the story may require season 4. He said, one thing is absolutely for sure. I don't see how we could tell this story that remains after season 2 is complete in 1 more season. So sign me up. I don't care. Like HBO, give them.
Suck it to my veins!
Yeah, give them as many seasons as they want.
Yeah.
He says the 2 stories are so interconnected that invariably we're actually going to be touching on things from the first season or the first game because there are continuations of those characters. So,
Yeah.
and that's from Neil Druckmann, the creator of the game. So it sounds like we might actually be seeing some revisiting of some things from season 1, even in season 2.
Obviously. I mean, things happen in season 1 that need to be addressed.
Yes. And then the last quote, and certainly in season 2, there's an episode that's going to be, again, close to, I don't know if I would say feature length, but quite big, Craig Mazin said. I like generally hitting an hour. It's just such a great length, and I love working in that format. What we don't want to do is say a season of 7 episodes where each episode is 90 minutes long. Part of why we're doing 7 episodes is finding that nice line. So it sounds like there's at least one in there that's going to be a little bit beefier and a little bit longer.
Episode 9 of Game of Thrones kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's always, yeah, exactly. And they had their 2 long ones in season 1. So, and then the last topic we've got before we get into the main topic, Frank Grillo that played, what was his name in Avengers? He was the one that had he gets blown up. He has the actor has a bigger comic book name than the actual character, Rumlow. I forget is it Crossbones?
Yeah, Crossbones. Yeah, it's the one that pops into my head for some reason. Havoc is stuck in my head. That's not right.
No. So he is starring in a film called Werewolves.
Oh, fuck me.
First, it is said that they're going to be using a lot of practical effects instead of CG, so that's good.
Son of a bitch.
So, quote, a supermoon event triggers a latent gene in every human on the planet, turning anyone who entered the moonlight into werewolves for one night.
Oh, fuck off.
Chaos ensues and close to 1 billion people die.
Holy shit.
Now, a year later, the supermoon is back.
It's like The Purge.
And the film is being described as The Purge with werewolves.
He's in The Purge.
They're calling it The Purge with werewolves.
Frank Grillo is in one of the Purge movies.
So, sir, needless to say,
No.
we are fucking there.
No.
We are
No.
fucking there.
No. Forget it.
Oh, sir.
Do it.
Piss off, Ghost.
Oh, man.
No. No.
Oh, it's going to happen, sir. But that brings us to the main topic, and you
No.
can take over. It is your stage now.
Fuck off. Oh my, I do not want to watch fucking 80 werewolves tearing people
A
apart.
billion people die.
Good lord.
That's an eighth of the planet.
Good lord. Anyone who's out gets exposed to the moon turns into a werewolf.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Oh, and for me, I'm saying
Oh.
Disgusting.
Oh, and actually, it is a little bit longer than normal, but I do have
yeah.
I do have an intro for this topic. I try to
Go
do
ahead.
this for every episode. Let's hit it.
There are certain rules that one must abide by in order to successfully survive a horror movie.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
When there's no more room in hell, the dead will walk here.
Hiya, Georgie.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff. You can either ignore it or you can help me to stop it.
Live or die. Make your choice.
Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
What's that like, the taste of butter? A pretty dress. What's that like to live deliciously?
Which one's that one?
That's The Witch.
Oh, I still haven't seen that.
Yeah. So yeah, I had to cobble that together.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I got enough layering things going on there that it won't be any kind of copyright issues.
Fingers
So,
crossed.
yeah.
But it was great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Yes.
it. So top 10 horror films. We both love horror films. I owe my love of horror films to you. I had never seen horror films until I met you. Proper ones, anyway. So the big thing is that I want to acknowledge that it is because of Tad that I am such a horror fan. I mean, I'm wearing a Michael Myers shirt right now and Tad's wearing a Captain Howdy shirt
Indeed.
from two franchises I would hope appear on your list.
We'll see.
If they don't, I'm going to be severely disappointed in you, sir. But one thing I want to talk with Tad about is I did not set any rules for this one.
Yeah.
Top 10 horror films is a completely subjective thing. You can be saying top 10 horror films of all time, as well as type of movies that they are, or you can say top 10 horror films that you enjoy because you just enjoy people getting the shit scared out of them.
Yes.
So, which boat did you choose?
I mean, for me, I guess I just went my top 10.
Okay, perfect.
Like, in terms of kind of the quintessential for me. Now, I'm the rules I kind of impose on myself. I don't want to do any sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Not that horror is necessarily famous for great sequels, but like
Oh.
I try to have one entry. I'm not gonna.
Okay. You
Not
say
gonna-
sequels, but there are
No,
sequel movies that are better than the original.
Yeah, but to say
Okay.
like I'm not gonna have like Halloween 6, and Halloween.
No, you're not going to
2018.
have 3 Halloween movies.
Exactly.
Is what you're meaning.
Yes,
but there could be sequels on your list instead of
Yes.
the original.
Yes.
Okay. The one thing I want to talk about.
And then I also tried. I wanted as much representation as possible, so I worked hard to try to have some newer stuff as well, and not just shit that I grew up on. So I kind of succeeded at that. But like,
Okay.
yeah, it's those are kind of the rules I put on myself.
So I went full because we talked about at the end of last episode when we announced that we were doing top 10 horror films, is that we're not going to stack our list with just one franchise. One entry per franchise. If you're going to pick Nightmare on Elm Street, you're going to pick which Nightmare on Elm Street. If you're going to pick Halloween, you're going to pick which Halloween, and you're not just going to fill it full of those ones just because that franchise is your favorite. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, so for me, I just did my favorite.
Yeah.
The ones that either scared the shit out of me or the ones that I just thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah.
And I will break it down when it comes to the films themselves, which way I kind of lean with those.
Yeah.
Because there are some horror films that I just thoroughly enjoy and they don't scare me anymore.
Yeah.
But there's ones that I still watch and I still get creeped out or freaked out or scared by them. So I will let you know which one it is. But there's one thing I wanted to talk about with you that I love your stance on this, is that I want you to explain to the audience, because you haven't talked about this yet on Geekery Abides, your take on earning a jump scare. Because you've always had this take, and I'm just going to kind of put words in your mouth a little bit, and maybe you can elaborate on it for me.
I mean, ultimately, it just comes down to is like there's cheap jump scares where it's just like it's all about a loud noise and you startle someone. Like that's not real. Like that's just like, oh, a fucking garbage can just fell down in my real house behind me and I jumped. Like that's not a fucking scare. You just startled someone.
Yeah.
Versus like when you build like to me one of the perfect examples is Halloween, 1978. Annie goes out to go to the car. She gets out there. She's singing a song to herself. She goes. Door doesn't open.
Door's locked.
Car's
locked.
She has to go back in the house. Walks all the way back in the house.
Keys.
Yeah, she's singing. She grabs her keys. Gets back out. She's singing. She's in the midst of it. She opens the door and it opens this time.
She doesn't unlock it.
No.
She just opens the
gets
door.
in, sits down, closes the door, and then it hits her. And
she looks
then
up.
She sees the fog, and then Michael pops out like a fucking Jack-in-the-Box behind her. Like that to me is like an earned ass fucking jump scare. Like they're like they set the stage. Like they let the audience realize it at the same time she did, because like I don't think a lot of audience members in the very beginning realized like, oh shit, she just opened the door. But
some people might have caught it.
But as she sits there and like, wait a minute, I think that's when the audience dawns on, and then he pops up. Like that's an earned jump scare. Like you've got to like set the stage, build the tension, and then the release. Like that's a true jump scare versus a fucking cat making that one fucking sound effect as it jumps in front of the character. Like that's just cheap.
Oh,
shit.
that scared me. That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's and I appreciate about that is that we had this conversation very early on in my fandom into horror films. So I started appreciating really good build the tension, build the horror and stuff like that. So I just wanted people to hear that, because Tad's always talked about that there is cheap horror films, and there's unfortunately quite a few of them made every year.
Yeah.
Where all they do is they go out to startle you, not scare you.
Yes.
So when you leave the theater, you go, yeah, I jumped a lot, but I'm going to sleep just fine tonight.
Yeah.
And then you got films, like a few of these on the list, where I went to bed that night and I pulled the covers up and I went, ugh.
And you let your
Not you.
You let your feet stick out of the covers.
No. But so let's dive into our list. So we're going to start off. Did you have any honorable mentions?
Almost more than we had real ones, so I won't mention them all.
Okay.
I think I ended up coming up with what I got here. My original list was 25.
21 for me.
25.
I narrowed it down to 13, so I got 3 honorable mentions. I don't know if you got them when I sent it over.
I didn't take them down on my list, but I don't have any like slide thing for them.
Slide for them. Okay, perfect. That's what I was wondering. So my 3 honorable mentions. So you're not going to do any honorable mentions?
I actually differentiated 6 of them from the rest, where I was like, because I had my initial list, and then I moved things up to like ones that'll probably make the list, and then that came down to like 16.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, those ones I want to mention as honorable mentions, because like those
I did 21. I trimmed it down to 13. I cut 8 out, and I'm like, okay, these are good, but they're not that good. They're not going to make my list. Like I'll give you an example of one that Hellraiser was on that list. So I cut that one out.
Same.
Really?
On my lower list, yeah.
So go ahead and give me your 6, and then I'll give you my 3.
So American Werewolf in London.
Okay.
Love it. Love one of the few really good werewolf ones.
Yep.
Hopefully Werewolves is great. But then the rest of them on this are actually my more modern ones. So Saint Maud. Saint Maud was really great. Nope. By Jordan Peele. Talk to Me, that just came out last year. That movie is like up there. That's
Okay.
a great fucking movie. The First Omen.
We just watched that.
I've
yeah.
now seen it 3 times. So, It Follows.
Okay.
Absolutely incredible. That's my 6 of like, and a lot of those are your modern ones, except for American Werewolf in London. So there are some other modern ones that may have made my list, but those, when I was really trying to like, let's get some representation for like not just 1980s and before.
Yeah.
Those are some of the ones that came up because we're
Nice.
in a golden age of horror movies.
Oh yeah,
man.
so many good horror movies.
Yeah, it's been a great couple.
You're
decades.
welcome, Hollywood. Saved you.
Yeah, indeed. Doing good.
Yeah.
Doing God's work for Hollywood for sure.
So my 3 that are on here are 2 older and 1 esque modern. It's this century, so
yeah, I'd say turn of the century is modern.
modern. Okay. The Thing,
Okay, 83.
83. The Strangers. That one freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah, it's a great
It
one.
did. And then Dawn of the Dead,
78.
78. Of course.
Just making sure. The Thing is the same way. There's 2 things technically. Oh,
No, it's a prequel.
There's
it's
2.
not actual. It's
no,
not
I know,
an
but
actual
it's called
remake.
The Thing.
Yeah, but it's not the thing. It's the
No,
thing.
I know. Luckily, the 1950s version
Yeah.
had different titles. So, So how do you want to do this, and how do we want to deal with repetition when we have the same thing?
I don't know.
'Cause we're going to count down because we're not fucking Luddites.
I don't know. We did it with that one time where it's just when we had matching ones, we pulled it up.
That's what I
but
was-
that was ranking a set of things. This one is completely open, so I think we're just going to go 10 to 1. I think you're going to go first.
But you want
as the guest.
You don't want to reveal the, like, if we have shared ones so that we can both talk about it, because I think that's why we originally tried that, is because then it gives us a chance to, like, one of us isn't holding back our conversation because it's 2 spots later. You know, like.
Yeah, we could do that. That's
Okay.
fine.
I feel like we did that once before, and I felt like that was.
What I was saying is that we did that with like a certain set, so we both had the same 10, and we just ranked them. Whereas this one,
I think we did it. I think we did it similarly on something that wasn't
Okay.
though, because I think
you think it's gonna work?
Because I think
Let's try it.
I think we
Let's
hamstring
try it.
ourselves on conversation at times
Yeah.
where it's just like one person says everything, and then 2
Okay.
spots later, the other person's like, "Well, you already said most of it, but here's my."
I think you're right. I think we talked about it after we did that episode, and we're like, we have to do it this way every time.
Yeah.
So let's do it that way. I think
Okay.
you're right. All right, so let's start with number 10. We're gonna go off of your list. So if you have one that is,
sorry, forgot I had to transition my
No worries. No worries.
slides. So yeah, my number 10, changing it over now, is The Witch.
The Witch.
Which was the last soundbite
Okay.
there. I also, if someone were keeping track at home, a lot of those sound bites might be on our lists. Just saying.
shocker.
And maybe exclusively stuff on our list. We'll see though.
Oh, okay.
But The Witch, saw this at Sundance with Hayden, which was really fun. I do recommend watching this at home with subtitles because it is Old English. But this movie is fucking incredible. It just does a great job of like the possession thing. What's her name? Anna Taylor-Joy, is that her name?
Yeah.
It's kind of her big coming out for Hollywood. Like this has kind of put her on the map. I mean, now she's just starred in Furiosa as a lead. She was in Gambit's Queen's Gambit. She's done a lot of stuff, but The Witch is just incredible. It's just captures that era perfectly of like, you know, like the family is kind of left like the town, so they're kind of out on their own. They're ostracized a bit, and then shit starts to happen. So you kind of got this isolation element, but there's some shit in this that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So
and
love
it is
this
on my
movie.
list to watch. I do need to watch it. So I appreciate you not spoiling it for me. That's what I appreciate about you, Ted.
Yes. Wonderful movie. Absolutely adored it. Hayden got him real good. So.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. So that's great. When you watch it, you'll have to let me know what you think.
Absolutely will do. So my number 10 is Friday the 13th, the original one.
And you picked the original.
There are other Friday the 13ths that are good. Don't get me wrong. 2 and 3 are both really excellent made films as well. But there's something about that original one that has the twist with it, with the mom instead of Jason, that most people don't realize. If they've never seen a Friday the 13th movie, they go in, they know who Jason is.
Or if they haven't seen Scream.
Yes.
I've seen that movie 20 goddamn times. Well, if you did, then you'd know that Jason's mother, Mrs. Voorhees, is the original
Yes,
killer.
exactly. I like the movie. Set the precedence, you know.
Aaron would be proud.
Yeah.
You know, my cousin Aaron, he
loves Jason.
He's a Jason guy for sure. Kevin Bacon.
What's with horror movies in the 70s and 80s getting people their start?
Yeah, it's It's
like
true.
seriously, Jamie Lee Curtis, Kevin Bacon. There's so many.
I think
of
it
them.
still happens. I mean, Anna Taylor-Joy, right?
You got a point.
Yeah, it
The Witch. Yeah,
it doesn't stop, man. I think because they tend to be a little bit lower budget. There's times that people can kind of get their shot,
they get the foot in the door. Yeah,
get their foot in the door with that, and then they become fucking massive stars. So
absolutely. Great kills too. Brutal.
And music.
Music.
It's classic. Classic stuff. First person perspective on a lot of the kills,
which is awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. It's definitely kind of changed the game for slashers.
So it doesn't make your list, huh?
No, it does not.
That's a shocker for me. I gotta admit, that's a shocker.
Yeah, there might be a couple that are
all right.
that are surprising.
All right, Ted, let's go with number 9 for you.
And actually, let me see, because it's actually one of yours too.
Okay.
Let me make sure I've got it, and then I've got to. Oh, let me see. Sorry, I gotta get this.
You're good. Go ahead and announce it, and maybe I can fill a little bit.
All right. So next up for me, I had to change the slide over my picture as well. It is Hereditary.
Okay.
So yeah, this movie. I mean, what? And for you, it's number 6.
It's number 6.
It's higher up for you.
Yeah.
This movie is just fucking batshit, especially the
Off
third act.
the wall.
Especially third act. The first 2 acts.
Yeah.
It feels not crazy. It's a wild movie. There's a couple things that happen where you're like whatever, but then it gets to the third act, dude, and it's like, what the fuck is going on with this movie, dude? And Ari Aster, I mean, I think he's a name that people recognize and pursue now because of this movie.
Yeah.
So
I actually watched the 2 movies. So there's Midsommar and there's Hereditary. I actually watched them out of order.
Oh yeah, I think I told you to.
You told me to,
Yeah,
because Hereditary came out first, right?
Yes, and then Midsommar
comes out a year or 2 later.
Yeah, and it's so different that I feel like a lot of people were disappointed by Midsommar because they were expecting another Hereditary. So I told you, watch them in reverse because I think you'll end up enjoying both more than because a lot of people shit on Midsommar where they're just like, I was expecting another Hereditary, and what the fuck was that movie? And I'm like, are you guys fucking crazy? That movie's great.
It's phenomenal. It made my list. It was on my 21, and it was going to be in my top 13. But then I realized I had forgotten Hereditary. So I had 20 movies, and then I realized I had forgotten Hereditary, and I went, Hereditary is better than Midsommar.
Yeah.
I love Midsommar. Don't get me wrong. Midsommar's brutal, and it has a great story.
Yeah.
And it's so original that it's set in a time in part of the world where the sun doesn't set. That's so unique for a horror film to have that. But Hereditary caught me so off guard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I will tell you that having it set here in Utah threw me and my wife for a fucking
And it's
loop.
not that they like overtly say it's Utah, but like we recognize it. It's
There's
like,
one scene where like a certain character has a accident.
Yeah.
And
but you see the mountains in the background.
you see the mountains, and you're like, man, that kind of looks like. But
and
the mountains could be Montana, Wyoming,
there's
Colorado.
a street sign at one point where it's like, that's our fucking street signs, dude.
What
This is
did it
Utah.
is the accident afterwards. There's the vehicle. As soon as the vehicle pulls into the driveway, I'm like, that's a fucking Utah license plate.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm like, that's a Utah license plate. And then the next scene is the.
we're talking spoilers.
Okay,
so,
we're talking spoilers. It's the funeral
Yeah.
there. And, dude, I can tell you, I'm like, those are those fucking mountains out there.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, oh, my God. Like, I grew up with these mountains. Me and you have lived in this valley. My wife has it. She grew up in a little bit middle Utah. So she didn't have this mountain range her entire life. But me, I paused the movie. I'm like, that's those fucking mountains, like pointing out our window. I'm like, that's them.
Yeah.
Right there. That's them. And she looks and she's like, oh, my God. And then it was 1 or 2 scenes later, literally the dad pulls up to a stop sign and it says a street. And I'm like, that's a fucking Utah stop sign.
Yeah.
Like a street sign.
Yeah, street
sign. I'm like, that's a Utah street sign. So to have it set in Utah, and then I paused the movie, Googled it, filmed in Park City, Utah, and other parts of Utah, and I'm just like,
it just makes it that much more unsettling.
It is.
Unsettling for sure.
And you're right. The third act on this film was off the wall.
I watched a reaction video of someone that does not like horror movies. So it was glorious. Dude, he completely missed the mom.
Oh, really?
Until like, he missed the there, and I was just like,
jeez,
come on, man,
notice it.
Oh, it was brutal, but yeah, this movie, just unhinged, dude, and it's so fucking good. Like, I knew immediately. I walked out, I'm like, this is a fucking classic.
Yeah,
like it's not one that I don't. You know me, I'm not one that would say that about almost any movie. But there are just times you see a movie.
I think I've heard you say that once or twice.
Yeah.
And I've known you for over 20 years.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where sometimes you see something where it's like, this is fucking special,
Yeah.
man. Like 50 years from now, someone is going to still be throwing this fucking on their thing to watch. And it just, there was something about it where I was like, this is fucking great.
And this was one of those movies that I was going to tell you that, do I enjoy it or do I this is one that creeps me out.
Yeah.
I've only seen it the one time too, and it's still, listen to how well I'm describing this movie off of one viewing. That's how much it stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's unreal how scary this movie gets.
Yeah, it's pretty great, man. I appreciated it quite a bit.
So we're going to go to my number 9 now, right?
Yep. Okay, looks like it changes the picture. So there we go.
Cool.
Yeah. Number 9?
My number 9 is Nightmare on Elm Street, the first and only Nightmare on Elm Street that I've seen.
Okay.
I have seen.
We might have to rectify that.
I have seen Freddy versus Jason, so I've seen more Freddy than just this. But I was told by you very early on, the first Nightmare on Elm Street is the only one that's worthwhile.
I might revisit that because
No, it's not. It's not the only one I've seen. I've seen 2 and 3.
Dream Warriors.
Yeah, because there's
the
one
hospital?
where he comes out of the TV.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
That's 3, isn't
Yeah,
it?
I think it is 3.
So I have seen more than one.
Oh, it's so good.
But this one is
and the
so good.
needle fingers.
Yes.
Which, as a young child, that was almost more terrifying to me than the
Oh yeah,
knives.
needles were terrifying as a
Yes,
kid. Yeah,
indeed.
But Nightmare on Elm Street, not on your list.
It's on my larger list, but like,
Not even
dude,
top
this
16?
and I guess I should have said this up front. Fuck you, because this was a very very hard list. Maybe the hardest we've done on this show. This was tough, man. This was absolutely tough. No, it's certainly on my list, my big list. But yeah, it did not make the cut.
I'm so far behind. My stream is still doing that same thing where I'm 2 or 3 minutes behind. So it's barely
Really?
just barely changed. So
Interesting.
I saw that it's not on your list. So you got to tell me
Oh, okay.
if it's on yours or not. Yeah, I love Nightmare on Elm Street. Who doesn't love Freddy Krueger, smart mouth killer, get you in your dreams? Such a great premise in the slashers in the 80s and everything. Not much more needs to be said. I mean, it's Freddy, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, indeed.
go to your-
He's great, and the first one is still
it's great.
insanely good.
Yeah.
You know, it hurt me to not have it on my list too, because I was just like, Wes.
It's Wes Craven.
It's Wes Craven, man. Like, not saying that he doesn't show up on my list elsewhere.
He
but
better.
this is the most iconic Wes
Yeah.
Craven. I mean, that can maybe be debatable nowadays, but Freddy is fucking iconic. And also, at the bare bones, Freddy is the most terrifying of all the slashers.
You have to sleep.
Yes, you can.
I don't have to go to Camp Crystal Lake.
Or Haddonfield. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you
I'm
maybe,
also not related to Michael,
Yeah.
or I'm not a babysitter, or whatever, whichever Michael you're
mean,
dealing with.
I guess you don't know if you can't control if you're related to Michael. You also can't control if your mom buys you a good guy doll. There are some things you can't control.
Yeah.
But sleep, you can't avoid.
That's one that didn't make my list at all. Is Chucky.
Or cymbal monkeys that you throw into lakes
You
and they come
stop
back.
that. Stop it. Stop it.
Oh man, I love the
Stop it.
spirit of it. All right,
All right, so you're number 8.
my number 8 is The Mist. Frank Darabont.
Oh my God, I forgot The Mist. I forgot the shame.
Shame.
I forgot The Mist. How do I forget The Mist?
I don't know.
Go ahead, say it. Say it.
What?
One of the greatest endings in film history.
I mean, I was gonna say, like, ultimately, this movie is great. There's a lot to love about this movie. I always feel like I'm always defending this movie because everyone always talks about Darabont's 2 movies, 2 of the greatest films ever made. But I'm like, Stephen King movies, and I'm always like, no, there's 3 because this is, in my view, it gets disrespected because it's a horror movie, but I think this is on the same level as Shawshank and Green Mile.
Oh, yeah.
100%. It's just a different genre, so it's hard to beat apples to apples. But this movie is incredible across the board. I love the Dark Tower painting.
Yes.
At the very beginning.
Who doesn't?
But ultimately, it's funny. I always use the example of 1408. Not a bad movie. Love it, but largely not talked about. This and The Mist and 1408 came out the same year.
Yeah.
So there's a very big reason that The Mist is still in the public discussion today as it was in 2007.
It's because of the ending.
It's the ending.
Yeah. One of the most brutal endings ever.
Oh man, like and like to this day, like I remember it was about a year or so ago that Hayden texted me and told me he had watched The Mist.
I cannot believe
I'm
that
like,
you let that happen
and I'm
without
like,
you.
no, we've watched The Mist, haven't we? He's like, no, we never have, and I just did. And I was like, dude, I still feel it. It's like a fucking knife in my spleen, where I'm just like,
Oh.
I missed that pain. I missed that, dude. This movie's just incredible. I mean,
is.
The story's great from King's perspective, but I think Frank is good at being a guy that takes a Stephen King thing and sometimes does better than King's actual writing, which is very fucking hard to do. I mean, some people can't even, sniff the fucking field close to the realm that King does when they adapt his stories. So to not only match what the book does, but then to surpass it, he's done it at least twice. I think the Green Mile, I think it's hard because those are they're so close and there's very little that he changed because King did so good that there's almost nothing. But he made some changes in Shawshank and this. I think in both cases it made them better stories. So.
Also, The Mist has one of the most hated characters of all time in movie history for me. So
Mrs. Carpenter.
I hate her so much, so much.
Oh man,
There's the question is like, if Mrs. Carmody and Dolores Umbridge were in a room together and you only had one bullet, who would you shoot? I don't know.
And who's that?
That's a evil character from Harry Potter.
Like evil, or like you just don't like her evil?
Everyone hates her. You'd love her,
but she's not like trying to like sacrifice children to like demon gods or anything.
Close. She probably eats children. She's so evil. So along those lines, she is a vile creature.
Oh man, I love the spirit of it. Okay. Let's see, where are we at here? Let me go get your number.
My number 8.
8. Right here.
Yep.
And then let me get over to your thing to change the picture over. And it is
Saw.
All right.
Love Saw. The first Saw, the one that changed me for brutality in horror films. I wasn't a huge fan of like excessive gore.
And the thing is there's not excessive gore in this.
No, it's not.
Like, because the first one was so low budget.
It was.
It's like, I think they not wasted. They spent most of their money on Danny Glover and Carrie Elwes.
Yes.
Like, those, like, for as low budget of a film it is, to get those two actors is incredible. And I think it's one of those things that's like Rambo, where everyone remembers the sequels and it, like, pollutes the first one a bit.
Yes.
And it's like, people think, oh my God, the fuck. And there's a couple very well executed scenes.
Execute is a good choice of words.
But yeah, it's but this changed you, huh?
It did. It did change me where it opened my eyes to where I mean, one of the great things about Saw is that it kind of gives off like someone hunting a serial killer vibes.
Yeah.
Which is awesome because I've been obsessed with serial killers since I found out about them when I was like 8.
Yeah.
So to have a horror film kind of centered around that almost gave me like a little bit like Frailty vibes a little bit.
Yeah.
But then it also has brutality. I mean, dude, you see a guy take a fucking shotgun to the head.
Yeah.
Like it does have some brutality to it, but
Yeah.
also like a really interesting story. He's setting up traps for people who, and everything like that. Such an original story is one of the big things that with the Saw, the first Saw. After that, it kind of got hollow. It's the classic example of it got Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hollywooded.
I do want to go through and watch all of them at some point because I think I've only seen up through 3 or 4.
Yeah.
I think. So there's a lot I'd missed. So I'd like to check them out just because I think I'm a little bit more accepting now than I was. I think I was a little bit more like, not pretentious, but I feel like when I was younger, I was easier to like hate on shit. And like nowadays, I'm just like, dude, some of this stuff's just fun. So I want to go through and revisit all of them.
You should do the same thing with the Final Destination series.
I tried. I think I got through the second one. Nothing bad about them, but those movies are so painfully 2000s.
Oh, yeah.
Like hairstyles, clothing, music choices. Like it was like weird because it's like that feels like the present still, but it's just like it was just weird. I don't know.
Okay.
And movies are so much different. They're shot differently too. It just felt not in a bad way. It just, and I think they actually took them off the streaming service I was doing too. So that didn't help, but it just petered out. Other shit came up to or whatever, but I don't hate them. And there's a new one coming. So they're about to do the first one in 10 years or something.
Nice.
So,
first date for me and my wife was seeing a Final Destination film.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's they're fun. I do need because I think I stopped after the second one, so I need to watch the third one, which is the roller coaster. I think so. It's fun stuff. Which one did you guys see?
I think it's called The Final Destination or Final Destination 5 or something like that.
Okay, maybe
Actually,
the last one that came out. Probably.
It actually turns out that it's a prequel.
Oh, okay.
Kind of catches you off guard. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that. So I just like Saw. Great story.
Oh yeah.
Two guys trapped in a room. You start piecing the puzzles together and everything. It's also got like the detective nature kind of it and everything with it. So just love it. But yeah, let's move on to your number 7. If you're not
I will
dying,
say,
if you're not dying over
it's
there.
got like a tickle in my throat. It's like, you know, when you get popcorn, sometimes you'll get that
Mm-hmm.
one little piece. I obviously haven't been eating popcorn, but I just got a weird tickle in my throat, and it won't fucking go away. I do want to say, Saw was one of the ones that hurt me. To not have on.
Yeah.
I will also say, jokingly, the reason I didn't put it on my list is because they didn't let that reverse bear trap go off.
On the girl.
Oh my god, dude!
If they showed that, it makes your list.
Dude, absolutely. Like,
Tad's a
just-
very big fan of horror kills, which
Oh.
is why the In a Violent Nature is.
oh
one of
my
your-
god, dude! Yes.
I can't wait to watch that.
And see, here's the thing: is I'm thinking about too is like I'm almost glad that Hayden didn't go with me to that, because a YouTube video, watching Hayden and I watch it.
Oh, it's a dream. I mean, you know, like seriously.
Just hook it to my vein!
If Hayden ever listens to this episode, just know, Hayden, I'll pay money to watch you watch scary things or play scary things. I really will. He could be a millionaire if he did that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easy.
Yeah.
He has the best reactions.
Oh, he does.
Okay.
So for my number 7, it is up on your list too. Number 3, The Conjuring.
The Conjuring. Yes, I love this one.
I mean, there was like the turn of the century. You know, like there was there's been plenty of horror movies, but I feel like shit changed with The Conjuring.
It did.
I feel like there was
It
a
did.
shift where it was just like I feel like a lot of the really great, because I feel like the late 90s, early 2000s, it was kind of its own vibe. And just Conjuring turned the corner, and I think since then we've had some fucking all-timers.
Bangers, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean James Wan is probably, I would say, the master of horror this side of John Carpenter.
Coincidentally, he's the one who directed Saw.
Saw as well.
Yep.
Also Dead Silence. I think
Yep.
you and your wife should check that one out.
She will not watch that movie. Thank you.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with ventriloquist dolls. They're
Absolutely, there is.
they're lovable little creatures.
There's plenty wrong with ventriloquist dolls. Even I say that.
But yeah, The Conjuring, I mean, based on a true story, which is always a great place to start.
That's why it's so high on my list, because it's scary as fuck.
To me, Hide and Clap is one of the most iconic things of the 21st century.
So scary.
And like, I'm just like, why didn't I think of this when I was a kid? Because this would be fucking incredible to play.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go play it with your kid. You know?
Oh no. No.
Go find an abandoned warehouse and play hide and clap.
No.
Yeah, but I mean the Warrens, like that's all cool. The Annabelle stuff is probably more iconic to the wider audience.
Yes.
I don't hate Annabelle, but I just think that like if they could have just got the Raggedy Ann doll to be the real, I just feel like when they like overdid it, to where it's like they tried so hard to make it creepy that it like almost uncreepied it.
Yeah.
When if it was just the true Annabelle dolls, the Raggedy Ann doll.
Yeah.
That is fucking terrifying to me.
Because it's real.
Because it's real, and it's also there's the fact that it's innocuous makes it more scary.
Yes.
Like the fact that like if they would have just like dulled Annabelle down to where it's like you could see why someone could see that on a store shelf at Toys R Us and go, yeah, I'll buy that for my kid.
I'll buy that for my niece or my daughter.
But the fact you look at that and you're just like, I wouldn't want that thing in the same state as me.
Yeah.
Like that just like takes away from it.
Yeah,
a
look
tiny
at
bit.
the baby Yoda in the back of your video.
Yes, like
that's cute.
Yes.
Take that and make it evil.
Yes.
Terrifying.
Perfect.
Way
Yes.
worse than the Annabelle doll.
Yes, and
Absolutely.
also a reason that clowns are so awesome as horror things because
Yeah.
they're just so lovable and beloved that you just to make them evil is great, right?
The thing with The Conjuring that gets me is how good the story is.
Oh yeah, incredible story.
Such a great story, great acting. One of the things I still take away from this film, and I just recently rewatched it this year or last year with my wife for her first time, is my God, the people like they have the off-duty cop and then like their assistant, and they're like, yeah, we might see something, or the cop's like, I don't believe in this shit, and then they see shit and they're like, oh my God,
yeah,
that's real.
Yeah.
That's real life reaction to some of the shit that the Warrens have done and everything. It's just like that's why it's so high on my list, because it's so scary, because it's real.
Yeah, and Lorraine's in this movie too.
Yeah,
she passed
she
away
is.
shortly after this movie, but she
Yeah.
was in this one. And the two actors playing Ed and Lorraine
Oh, so good.
are incredible. I'm really sad that we're about to see their final Conjuring movie here pretty
I
soon.
need to watch the third Conjuring. I haven't watched it
You
yet.
should. It's not as good as whatever, but it's still worth a watch. Like
Yeah.
I mean, to say it's not as good as the first, like what fucking horror movies are? I mean, really, like
Yeah.
it's one of the best horror movies.
I mean, one of my honorable mentions was better than the first. It's Dawn of the Dead.
No. I mean, in terms of the Conjuring, to say like none of the sequels are as good as the first one, but it's like what fucking horror movie matches the Conjuring? Like, it's like one of the best horror movies of the 21st century. And like I said, I just felt like that was a corner turning too. And I feel like we've just had banger after banger of possession type movies since this came out. Because I mean, even think before that, right? You had like the remake of Amityville Horror. It's just early.
Good.
It's just early 2000s. It's like there wasn't a lot of originality to it. They got sued for it. Like it's just it exists. It's there. It's kind of like the original Thing or the remake Thing in 2011.
It's there.
It's just there. And then but with the Conjuring though, it's like I just felt like there was a corner turned where it was just now
after the
this,
Conjuring, it feels
Insidious,
like Insidious,
Sinister, The Possession, Hereditary,
and then you got The Last Omen just came out.
Yeah.
You know? And all I have to say because of The Conjuring is
Piss off, Ghost!
Yeah.
Dude, when they look up on the top of the Schifferobe and that fucking ghoul is
up there.
dude,
Oh God.
It's incredible. It's incredible, man. I love
Okay, we got to get going.
I love this movie. All right. So next up is
My number 7.
All right, let me go over to your thing here. Number 7. And it is
Blair Witch Project.
That's classic.
Classic one. Still to this day, I have questions on if this was a movie or if it was found footage. It was so well made that the first time I watched it, I honestly looked it up online to see if this was a real case.
That was part of the marketing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, but you have to realize I didn't watch it until 2007, 2008.
But the urban legends that built around
Oh, yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, this is one of those movies, like, it has that history to it. And honestly, launched an entire genre of horror films. Found footage is a huge market now for not just horror films, but films in general. I mean, we had Cloverfield based off of this.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And Paranormal Activities all launched from this and everything. And there's video games. Video games took so much inspiration from the Blair Witch Project. You got Slender Man. You got this one where it's a classic scene where someone's up in like those ranger cabins in the woods, and they're zooming in on like a telescope lens, and they go to take a picture of a ritual. So, like they have,
I sent it
it's
to
a
you.
cult. Yeah, you sent it to me.
Yeah.
And the person takes the picture and the flash is on, so everyone doing the sacrifice looks up and then starts heading towards them.
I sent it to Hayden too, and I got a thumbs down.
Oh yeah,
which
absolutely.
is
like
the best for me.
That's because of Blair Witch Project. That
Yeah.
exists because of Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Not to mention the movie is creepy as fuck.
Yeah, it's almost as good as that one where the 4 people are on the couch and the one dude has his phone aimed at his
the
friend's
girl's foot. Yeah, she's like
flash.
laying down, got her feet over her boyfriend's knees, and the guy's sitting next to him, and he goes to take the picture, and the flash is on. What the fuck, John?
I think of you every time I see that because I just know like you died inside when you saw it. But no, Blair Witch also kind of hurt me because, again, this almost should have been a top 20 for me because even then I still got 5 too many. But like some of these cuts hurt, and Blair Witch, man, like
it's one of them.
This movie is like it's a banger, dude,
Yeah.
and it's one of the most divisive ones too. There's a lot of people that hate this movie and just don't think there's anything to it. But to me, fucking terrifying. It's perfect movie to watch before going camping.
No, absolutely not. All right, what's your number 6?
Number 6 is Dawn of the Dead. The 1978
honorable
classic.
mention for me.
To me, this is the quintessential zombie movie. I don't think that there's been a lot of good zombie movies over the years. I just don't think this has ever been topped. I think this is still the best zombie movie. I mean, nobody does it better than Romero, in my opinion. I always tell people the worst Romero movie to me is better than the best of anybody else. Like he's the man. He invented this. And Dawn of the Dead, I think, is just as good as some of his other sequels are. There's just something wonderful about this movie.
Absolutely.
So, love it. Just saw it in theaters not too long ago. They put it in theaters for the 50-year anniversary. Or something anniversary, not 50, because
60? No,
it was 1978. So would that be last year would have been, I guess, the
35th, 40th,
45th, maybe
45th.
Yeah. So, wonderful.
Math is hard.
Wonderful stuff. Let's see the number. Alan in the chat saying tangents.
That's what we do.
And then let's see what do we got next. We're going to Yes, because we're skipping yours because number 6 is Hereditary. We already talked about. So then we're going to my number 5. Let me see if it's on your list. It does not appear as though it is. Let me make one more pass just to be all right. It is not. So let's go over to my number 5, and it is The Shining.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like conversation about book versus movie and stuff, whatever. But ultimately, beyond all of that, though, regardless of what Kubrick did or didn't do with King's book, he still made a fucking all-timer.
Oh, yeah.
Like we talked earlier a little bit about Midsummer. It's so unique because like there's almost no darkness in the movie.
Yeah.
And the couple times there are, nothing scary happens. The Shining's the original for that. Like there's almost no darkness in this movie.
Yeah.
Everything is in brightly lit hallways. Jack Nicholson, I would say probably greatest performance of his career. There's some challenges.
That's a
there.
good question.
A Few Good Men. There's Joker. He's done a lot of great stuff over his career, but to me, The Shining is like kind of definitive. Jack Nicholson. Just the mood and tone of this movie is it just gives me the creeps. It's I don't know, some of those long drawn out.
Do you want to hit the button?
I don't.
You do have a button.
I do. It's way back here. Good stuff. So yeah, that
made my initial list. Didn't make the cut to the final 13 though.
Okay, and then let me prep while you maybe tease what your number.
Sure, absolutely. So number 5 for me is one of the greatest slashers of all time.
All right.
And I better be on your fucking list or we're not friends anymore.
Wait. Oh, I forgot. I because you had Hereditary on there.
Yeah.
So next up is Scream, which actually is my number 4.
Okay.
So
pretty close.
Alan saying Kubrick setting the standard. Indeed. Yeah. Wes, I mentioned earlier, Wes was indeed on my list because Scream.
You better be.
Scream.
If Scream doesn't make your list, Tad, seriously, we're not friends.
I'm a body snatched.
I know
victim.
that you're an alien and I'm out of here. But Scream changed horror. Like 80s, late 80s, early 90s horror got kind of campy a little bit. Scream changed it back to where it can be mainstream again.
Yeah, and then the meta element.
Oh yeah,
dude. Yeah, it's just, I think I've made it clear over this show over the years. I love slashers. I think sometimes slashers get disrespected in the horror realm, but for me, I'm an unabashed fucking fan of slashers. And to me, Scream is like one of the fucking standards for slashers. Modern, for sure, it's the
standard,
definitive standard for sure.
Been going for 30 years. 96 for the first one.
Yeah, 96.
96 for the first one. So we're coming up on 30 years for that one in 2 years.
Jesus Christ,
that makes you feel old, doesn't it? So we're still going strong. Nev Campbell, we talked about it during the news and everything like that. Also, dude, some fucking glorious kills in this movie.
Oh yeah,
garage door.
Yeah, the first one. I remember seeing it as a young lad. I think it was, what would that be? 96. So that would be 11.
10 or 11, right around
it
there.
It would be 10 because it came out before my birthday.
Yeah.
I was 10 years old, and I just remember, whatever. It sounds weird, but I was almost getting kind of I don't know, jaded by horror because, again, what you mentioned, the 90s was just weird for horror,
It was not that great.
They were, doing weird shit like Leprechaun in the Hood. There was just all this weird shit where it was just
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, there was just all kinds of weird shit, man. And it just felt like horror. It was like, man, is horror just dying? Because it's just it's all just seems so played out. And I just remember being 10 years old and seeing Scream. I just realized that changed, holy shit, no, horror could still do it. And it was that opening scene with
Drew Barrymore.
Casey's boyfriend. Because you see his guts completely out. That's not something you would have seen in the last decade by the time that had come out.
Yeah.
You saw back in the 80s there was a lot of cool gore stuff, but I felt like in the 90s there was just it kind of moved away from overt, and it would have been more like you heard the slash, you kind of get the sense that he was gutted, but you wouldn't have actually seen his fucking guts spilling out. So I just remember that being like, oh my god, this is different.
You wanna hear something funny? I don't think I've ever told you this. I missed that for the first 10 years of watching this film.
Really?
Totally missed that his guts plop out.
Yeah.
Because I'm watching his face because his head does this.
That's a difference between you and I.
It lulls back and I'm like, oh God, he's dead. What happened? And then it cuts away. It wasn't until I think you mentioned it one time and Hayden gagged it. I'm like, there's nothing really like overtly like he gets stabbed. Like so
Yeah.
what? And I think I don't know if I said something to you and you just don't remember it, or if I just went and watched it and I'm like, oh my god, he gets fucking gutted. Like that's his intestines.
See, and you know me, it's like, Tad, eyes are up here, because I'm like, nope, let me look at the wound.
Yeah, where's the wound?
Yeah, show me the blood. That's all I care about.
Show me the money.
Yes, indeed.
All right.
So next up, we're going to go with your number 4
Yep.
because my number 4 was Scream, so that worked out nicely. Let me see. I got your number 4 right there, and then I'll change your poster over.
Which is my number 4 is It. Chapter 1, if you want to say, but it's not called
I always fought against that, but it does at the very end says It Chapter 1.
Yeah.
So I grant Chapter 1 is the title now.
So It Chapter 1 is for me. It Chapter 2 has some stuff in it that is great as well.
And disturbs you to this day.
The girl under the bleachers haunts me. But It Chapter 1, it is my favorite Stephen King novel of all time. Outside of The Dark Tower, which is not fair because that's 7 novels.
Yeah.
So 8
Yes.
if you count the expansion, the mid-season one that came out later. But it is just phenomenal. Bill Skarsgård did the impossible. We've had this conversation on our other show. He filled those floppy shoes. We talked about this on our other show, and I don't know if we've mentioned it on Geekery Abides, is that Tad noticed something about a year ago that this movie came out in 2017. It's 7 years old.
Yeah.
So last year it would have been 6 years old. Tad noticed that if you talk Pennywise, if someone writes an article about Pennywise, and the reason why this came up is because there's a new show calling Welcome to Derry, which is going to star Pennywise. There was questions about whether or not Skarsgård was going to come back or not. Every single time someone's writing about Pennywise, it's Skarsgård's Pennywise.
I would
not
say
Curry.
I'd say 80% of the time.
Yeah,
80%, which is nuts. If you would have told me in like February of 2017 that later that year when that Pennywise came out, he'd almost like out icon
Tim Curry's
like,
Pennywise. You're fucking nuts.
I probably would have just like kicked you in the head.
Yeah. So that Skarsgård's performance is unbelievable.
Yeah.
The Losers Club in this. Oh yeah, the eye that he's just naturally able to do. That's not CGI, folks. If you didn't know that, go look up. There's a Bill Hader interview on one of the late night shows where he talks about that he walked up to Skarsgård and is like, "That's really cool. They do that with special effects." He goes, "Oh, this?" And he does it. And there's a picture. It's like frame pictures where one picture is him talking to Skarsgård. The next one is him like falling because he was so startled that it was actually real.
Yeah.
It's not a video. It's a two photographs.
Yeah.
But the performance in this by the Losers Club, the story, how well they did adapting it. You mentioned it earlier when you were talking about The Mist. King's adaptations don't have a great track record when it comes to horror and them changing things. This one, I got no complaints, really.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah. And right from the get-go, the Georgie scene, one of the most iconic scenes in the original. And it's like, oh, man, I know you've got to cover this scene, but it's almost like one you almost wish you didn't have to because it's like, how are you ever going to compare?
Yeah.
And not only did they do a great job, but then they went overboard, and you actually saw the damage done to that young boy. So
yeah.
All right. So next up we got
your number 3.
My number 3. So my Scream was my number 4, obviously, and number 3 for me is The Thing.
Okay.
We talked about it a bit when we were talking about Aliens earlier in the news. This movie to me, John Carpenter is a god. I mean, he just is like the dude just does it. And this movie is insane because it was actually a flop in the box office because it's like now it's regarded as one of the best horror movies of all time.
Yeah,
it's just like it feels to me. It's funny because I was thinking about it over the course of this week, trying to think through this list. And like nowadays, you have like the Mafia party game. Where you do like that whole thing.
It's more common now. It's actually released as an actual card game.
I've heard it called Werewolf. I've heard it called Mafia. I've heard it called
Werewolves is the one.
Yeah, it's called multiple things, but it's been a party game for 10, 15 years, pretty popular. There's that stupid video game now that basically took the same idea.
Among Us?
Is that what it is? Yeah, with those stupid little colored people.
Yep, Among Us.
Little red, blue.
Oh,
yellow.
dude, you don't understand the number of games that have branched off from that. Because Lydia watches a streamer named Jeremy Dooley, and he plays with a group of people. He gets friends together every week, and sometimes they play games like this. There are so many games coming out like this now where it's like someone's the traitor, someone's the bad guy,
yeah.
someone's this.
And that all goes back to The Thing.
It all
you
goes
know?
back to The Thing.
Like the story for this is incredible. Kurt Russell's
awesome.
is amazing, but also like the special effects in this.
Unreal.
I mean, I think one of the first scenes that really hits it is the paddles, right?
Yeah.
Going into it, and it goes into his fucking chest and then eats his, like, it's just fucking
Well, you got
unreal.
that, and you also got the Huskies that are before that, which don't kill dogs, man.
No, you want to kill the dogs. Don't.
In
don't
this one, you
trust-
kill the one dog, not all the dogs.
Don't trust that thing. It's not a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie is just incredibly well done. I think the only small mark against it is Wilford Brimley. I can't take that man serious. I just
Diabetes.
Yeah, I want him to tell me about diabetes supplies. So
Type 2 onset diabetes.
so to have him like trying to be a character is always tough, which always makes me think about that when it's like later in a person's career. It's like if you start advertising and you become too iconic, like it might actually kind of hurt your previous works.
Which is funny because there's so many celebrities that do advertisements now,
I
but it's
know.
voiceovers.
Oh yeah.
Like John Cena does a car commercial, and I'm like, that's fucking John Cena. I recognize that voice anywhere.
Well,
Da, da, da,
it
da.
makes sense.
But you can't see him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Makes total sense. But the thing is just is nuts. I mean, yeah, I love this movie. It's still one I could just throw on any time and watch.
Yeah.
Special effects are incredible. The story's incredible. We still talk about it pretty regularly as a society. It's one that's kind of had a redemption because it did flop. And over
It caused John Carpenter to get fired from
Firestarter. Yeah, what could have been?
What could have been?
What could have been, man? We probably wouldn't have had a karate chop kill, but
Yeah.
it still probably would have been a much better movie.
Yeah.
Not that the original Firestarter is necessarily the worst.
Dude,
but
I'm so curious what your number 2 is.
yeah.
I'm so curious. I'm so curious if it's the same as mine,
Let's see.
or if you pulled the rug out from under me.
Let's see. Let me go ahead and change on over. Oh, let's see. The Conjuring was your number 3. Okay.
Yep.
And then your number 2 does indeed match my number
The
2.
Exorcist.
It is The Exorcist.
Tubular bells, man. I can't do it right. But
Yeah.
yeah. You want to go first?
I mean, I still think horror movies don't really affect me anymore. I sadly
Yep.
lost that around age 14 or 15. Just years of exposure. It gets to the point where I see The Matrix. But if there's one movie that can get close to getting to me, it's this one. This movie still stands up. I sometimes wonder if it's just my appreciation even for older movies. But over the years, there's 2 movies I'll watch reaction videos on YouTube of no matter who it is, whatever. I'll watch every one of them. Airplane and The Exorcist.
Yep.
And so I've probably seen every Exorcist reaction and every Airplane reaction video. And I'm seeing Gen Z. I'm seeing, I guess that's millennial than Gen Z, right? I'm seeing people, young millennials and Gen Zers, watch this and be just as terrified. So I'm like, okay, this movie still stands
Yep.
up. And it's fucking incredible. I mean, it is the standard. We talked earlier about The Conjuring, kind of launching the modern possession era. But The Exorcist defined the possession movie. Like it did. I mean, Linda Blair is a fucking goddess. And she did an incredible job in this movie. The certain character who might pop up on the screen, you're a few minutes behind or whatever.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Oh, it reminds me of Kenny from Scream with on a 30-second delay, although it's not 30 seconds. We got just the subliminal shit.
Oh, now it's going live, and I missed it.
Oh, really? It's going live?
Nothing's happening, dude.
Oh, you know why? I am not transitioning the goddamn screen. That's
Oh,
why.
okay. Yeah, there he is. There we go. Hi, Captain Howdy.
Yeah. So Captain
I'm
Howdy
glad that
stuff,
I was looking.
the re-release in 1998,
Yeah.
the version you've never seen, it added some stuff in. Absolutely incredible. I mean, this movie I'll watch fairly regularly, at least probably once a year. Not that I make a point to. It's just one of those things where it's just like
You crave it.
I'm craving a fucking good possession movie, and what's better than the original?
It's terrifying that it's a child.
Yeah.
I have a daughter. She's about that age now, so
Yeah.
it's just so scary as a parent to have something like that out there.
Yeah.
This is one of the very few movies that caused me to lose sleep.
Really?
Like I grew up not knowing horror movies. I didn't, like I said at the beginning of this segment, I started watching horror movies because of Tad. The look on Tad's face when he said, "Do you like horror movies?" I'm like, "Yeah, I love Ghost in the Darkness. It's really the only one I've ever seen." The look on his face of, just sheer disappointment is
Yeah.
what I could categorize it as.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, I have a whole new world to show you." And I'm like, "Aladdin?"
A
And he's
whole
like,
new world.
And he's like, "Hold on, we're in for a ride." And this is one that he held off showing me because he knew. But when he showed it to me,
it's kind of a grand finale thing. You don't want to throw the grand finale at the beginning. You've got to let people. You got to expose people to some other things. Whatever, kind of like Dark Tower too.
Yep.
you know?
You didn't start me off with Dark Tower when you got me reading King. You started me off with Salem's Lot.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. And I just knew The Exorcist. You know, it's just one that it gets to people, man. I mean, even the medical side where she's getting all the tests done and the spinal tap. Like, there's all that shit that's just.
It's also so unnerving seeing her act that way in the doctor's office.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Yes.
You know, it freaks you out. And then Tad did the worst thing that he could possibly do. We finished. We're at his house. We're just after high school or during high school. And I'm talking about how crazy the movie was and how much it affected me. And he goes, yeah, based on a true story. And I went, what? And he goes, no, really, like, look it up. Like, they changed, like, 2 things about this story. It was a boy, and it was in England.
Yeah.
And I went, what? Yeah, that almost 100% true. Like, maybe not 100% of the things.
Yeah.
But it was a famous woman who had a son who was possessed. 2 people died. There was an exorcism.
Yeah.
This is documented.
And the other thing I love too is this did kind of launch a subset, right? Like, there's exorcism movies. Like, how many exorcism movies? Not even just exorcism sequels, but, you know, Exorcism Emily Rose. Like, how many times in just normal?
The American Haunting, all
even
that
The
kind of stuff.
Conjuring.
Yeah,
there was kind of an exorcism, and they talk about how, like, oh, we're the only non-Catholics that the Catholic Church is, like, deemed capable of doing exorcism. Like it's just something that's so ingrained in horror movies.
Yeah.
And it's like, not to say that it didn't exist because it's a real thing, but like. This movie popularized the idea of exorcism.
Yes.
So incredible. Just one of my favorite movies. I mean, it's shot incredibly. I learned only about 10 years ago that Max von Sydow was
I was about to bring that up.
Was a 40-year-old dude that plays the old priest here.
Found out that he was still alive. You're like, wait, what?
Yeah, when he showed up it was Game of Thrones and Star Wars. Like, in short order, he was showing up in both. And then I looked him up. I'm like, he was in The Exorcist? And then it's like, wait, he was not Karras is the younger one, Marin. I'm like, Father Marin. I'm like, no, that's the old one.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to be dead.
He's got to be dead.
He's got to be dead 25 years now.
Nope.
And then I went and did the math. I'm like, he was like 42 years old when he filmed that. Like, it was all makeup. And I'm like, I've never once suspected that he wasn't an old man. So incredible. And I also just love that, like, the slow burn element of it, because I feel like that's kind of lost in modern horror for the most part. There's exceptions, Hereditary and stuff, but largely slow burns just don't exist as much anymore.
No, you have to scare the audience from the start.
Yeah, and this one, it's like you start in like Iraq, you know, like it's just, and it would just like almost feels completely unrelated to the rest of the movie, and it is related, but it's just like there's no way in hell that if this movie is made in 2024 that fucking entire section of the movie exists. Yeah. It just doesn't. Which, when he walks into that office and the fucking clock stops with the pendulum up, like, it gave me chills, because it's just, it's small, it's overt, but it's
dogs
creepy.
fighting.
The dogs fight,
That's unnerving. People don't like that.
Yeah.
It's just, like, meant to unsettle you, this whole scene, and then he's standing there staring at this statue that looks like a demon, and you're just like, the fuck is this? And then it cuts to North Carolina, Virginia,
Virginia,
Virginia, and it's like, what the fuck is this? You know, like, catching you completely off guard that's the opening scene.
And then the head.
Yeah. Spider walk down the stairs. You're gonna die up there.
Which head is worse? The halfway where she looks back. I know what you did. I know you know what she did. Like, your cunting daughter, because like that one is like almost more impactful to me. I know the all the way around head turn is like almost more unsettling, but that back one is just it gets me more than the full turn for me, even though the full turn should be more scary.
The full turn just makes me think of Scary Movie. Now, fuck that.
That's an all-timer too. That opening scene is is incredible stuff. But yeah, across the board, great acting, great writing. Like, Tubular Bells, one of my favorite little bits of trivia is Richard Branson, that owns like the Virgin Empire, Virgin Cellular, Virgin Airlines. His first million was Tubular Bells.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Virgin Records, the first thing that really got him started was they made fucking millions off of Tubular Bells after this movie came out. So that's kind of the early building block of his empire, which is nuts, because like
that's cool.
He doesn't give as much coverage as like your Bill Gateses or your Elon Musks, but like dude's, like when he's like, hey, I don't like the way this airline treated me. I'm going to buy one and start my own.
Yeah.
Like, it's cool. So that leaves us down to
Number 1
a singular title.
for both of us.
Is it the same for both of us?
Absolutely it is. I know it is.
Oh, man.
It's Halloween, 1978. John
Another
Carpenter.
John Carpenter for me.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, this is always going to... I mean, we've talked about our Mount Rushmores, and on my Mount Rushmore is Halloween.
Yep.
So I don't think this should be a surprise to anyone.
Yeah.
This is... I mean, yes, there was a couple slashers that existed before this, but this is the kind of proto-slasher. This fucking set the stage for what slashers would be for the rest of time.
It's still the formula.
Yeah.
Like, you want to make a good slasher film, go look at Halloween.
Yeah.
And the fact that this was made on a $30,000 budget.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah, on a 30-day shooting schedule.
30-day
too.
shooting schedule in spring in
LA.
California.
Yeah.
Like, unreal. Jamie Lee Curtis is a goddess.
Yes.
She is the best.
She's the best. Donald Pleasance.
Donald Pleasance is amazing.
Yeah.
Death Has Come to Your Small Town show.
Yeah. Great stuff, dude. This movie just, I think we've already talked about Halloween to some extent on other shows. I've talked about it on my Mount Rushmore.
Yep.
John Carpenter's a god. I mean, the
music.
The music,
Oh.
the Michael's look, I think is better than Freddy or
I think
Jason.
I need to go change my ringtone. Every year, it hits a certain point where it's like, okay, we're close enough to Halloween now. I got to go change my ringtone, and it's this theme
Yeah.
every time.
The white mask
Oh,
is just incredible. I mean,
the
we-
Captain Kirk mask.
We
the-
talked earlier about the jump scare, right? Like that's like one of my favorite examples of like a earned jump scare. Some of the spooky elements where he's just standing in the shadows when the kid looks out and sees him across the street. Like, I don't know. It's just great. One of my favorite filmmaking shots in horror is when Laurie's standing up against the doorway crying, and then they turn the light up just a tiny bit so his mask just materializes in that dark
and
doorway
it's like
behind
your
him.
eyes got adjusted to the dark.
Yeah,
I love it.
So good.
I love it.
mean, yeah, everything about this movie is
Yeah.
absolute perfection, man. I adore it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
It'll always been one of my favorites. There's only one single Halloween movie in the entire thing that I've not really cared for, so I love all the sequels with their warts and all, and it all comes down to this movie. This is the reason, right? Like if this movie wasn't as good, I don't think I'd be a person that would defend Halloween 6 or Resurrection the way I do now. So great stuff, wonderful movie, great poster too.
Oh, classic. I love the opening sequence with the pumpkin and everything as well, with the music playing.
Yeah.
Also got our first, not our first, but one of the first from the killer perspectives.
Yeah.
At the opening scene with Michael killing his sister.
Yeah, with that tracking shot.
Yeah. Tracking shots. How
yeah.
famous has that become now?
Yeah.
Like that's a big thing. And I don't know if it probably was done before John Carpenter, but it's so good with this one.
John's the man, dude.
Yeah.
He
so
just,
good.
He just kills it.
Kills it.
It's everything about this movie I just adore.
Oh, yeah.
It's one that I can throw on any time.
I watch it every single year on Halloween,
and I
or Halloween or a day adjacent. I will say that scheduling sometimes makes it so I can't watch a horror film on the day of.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
it's every year within a few days of Halloween that I watch this movie.
Plus the clown mask. Yeah. That's always fun too.
Michael takes the mask off and it's just a boy standing there with a fucking knife.
Yeah. And then
kitchen knife, man,
and dead daughter up in the room that they're going to go find soon.
Became an icon.
Yes.
The head tilt.
Yeah. Head tilt. I mean, everything. I mean, yeah, Nick Castle's performance as Michael is unparalleled.
As the shape.
It's just it's unparalleled. Like nobody. There's a lot of other great stuff that's been done, certainly, but to me, Michael will always be the king. So
him sitting up.
Yeah.
The Undertaker stole that later.
Oh, great stuff though.
Yeah.
This shouldn't have been a big surprise for anyone, for me at least, for number one. But that's great stuff. Good old Mikey Myers. So that's our top 10 horror movies. So we've now got 3 genres in the book:
westerns, horror, and action.
Yep. So that's great. All right, so let's go ahead and hit the email stuff and then get on out of here. So first of all, if you want to email us, respond to either of our lists, give us show ideas, feedback, whatever you got. Send an email to either peter@geekeryabides.com or Tad, T-A-D-D, @geekeryabides.com. Email either of us directly. And yeah, that is the way to contact the show. If you're not here with us live in the chat, that is the way to be part of the show. And then next time on, let's go ahead and top 10 trilogies.
Trilogies.
I decided because it's weird. I feel like every time I'm about to like think about like a trilogy or a top 10 thing, you had just done one or whatever, and I'm like, I don't want to bunch them up too much, but like I feel like it never lines up right every time. Like something else comes up or whatever, and so I'm just like, you know what, this time, fuck it, I don't care. We just did one now. Top 10 trilogies.
Okay,
And
I have to ask.
There will be certainly some definitions. It doesn't mean that there can only be 3 movies.
Okay.
If there is because
Lethal Weapon has 4 movies. Can I do Lethal Weapon 1, 2, and 3 as a trilogy?
yeah, you just can't break up stuff because
I can't do 1, 2, and 4.
Because if we didn't allow that, then Star Wars wouldn't count.
Yeah.
There's 12 Star Wars movies, so it's like,
True.
yeah, but it does have to be 3.
But they are made in 3s usually.
Well, not. I mean, you have these weird ones like
I guess
Solo
that's
and
true
stuff
now.
now. So I'm just saying, yes. Of course, you can't just like pick and choose and go, well, like Halloween 1, 4, and 9.
Damn it.
You can't do something like that. But like trilogies, we kind of know what that means. But
Yeah.
yes, I do want to say, because like in the old days, I think one of the big examples ever since 2008, Indiana Jones. It's like, does that mean that Indiana Jones is no longer a trilogy because the 4th movie
bullshit.
came out? And it's like, to
No.
me, no, you still have the Indy trilogy. Yes, there's other movies that came along,
Yeah.
but it's like you still kind of have trilogies. And
Yeah.
like, so, I mean, yeah, I feel like that's kind of that'll be a fun one, I think.
I'm already like mentally making a list.
Yeah. And I think it'll be difficult. Like, there's part of me that's like, oh, that'll be easy because it's just like, how many good trilogies are there? But the more
you know what my first knee-jerk reaction was when you said that? I'm like, is there 10 trilogies I can pick?
but
now that I'm going through, I'm like, oh yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
it's gonna be. It's
So
gonna
you're
be a
saying
fun
if
one.
there's 4 movies in a series, I can go 1 through 3 or 2 through 4. So I can't do 1, 3, and 4.
Yeah, you can't hop around. They should be.
Okay.
They need to be sequential
Okay.
of the same series.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I'm excited for that because I think it'll be fun. Because I mean, trilogies have defined pop culture at least since the late '70s when Star Wars, it became a trilogy in the '80s. But it's like it feels like since then. I mean, how many great trilogies have there been?
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like it'll be a fun one. It could be any genre. Whatever. There's no limit. So if there's multiple Star Wars trilogies, I mean, it doesn't necessarily. You can do that. I don't want to restrict it down. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's plenty of trilogies to talk about. So that'll be next time, which I think is the
28th.
28th.
Not 2 weeks from now. It'll be on Friday. I got a family reunion to go to on Saturday.
Yeah. So that is that. Wanted to cover that because I think we didn't mention that on this
do
show
it at the beginning. Damn it.
Yeah. So
Shame.
that is next time on the 28th. I know that's a work day for a lot of people, but you could always come back and watch it in the. I guess my date is wrong on the screen too.
Yeah.
I forgot to change the date there. It's funny. I always have like a checkbox of like dates I have to like change or episode numbers. It seems like I always miss one. So yeah, that's next time on Geekery Abides. So yeah, I will sign off as I always do by saying, love what you love, let your geek flag fly high, and to hell with anyone that'll tell you something about guilty pleasures when it comes to pop culture.
It was the boogeyman.
As a matter of fact, it was.
See you, everyone.
See you guys.